Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto tomoe rinnegan chunin exams. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by PELINALWHITESTRAKE1 and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. The Final Showdown. I do not own Naruto in a destroyed village. Surrounded by fires, mountains of destroyed earth. 4 figures stood. 3 versus 1. The one facing the 3. Naruto Namikaze standing in a black armored epic 9-tailed fox over 328 feet high. On the opposite side of the field 2 other tailed beasts. The 4-tailed monkey and the 5-tailed dolphin horse. Standing in a lava golem was Kuretsuchi, granddaughter of the 3rd Tsuchikage in line up for 4th Tsuchikage, stood facing the man that was once her best friend, lover, enemy and father to her child. To her sides the Jinchuriki of Iwagakure and Rashi transformed into their tailed beast. A 3rd ninja war raged for 24 years. War of attrition. Sarutobi once joked it was like being back in the warring clans period. Konoha continually pushed back. Won a Kanabi bridge just to take a blow when the Kyuubi attacked. Few made it past the of 17. Rare those who made it to the 21st. But fewer those who lived past 25. Those with potential taken from a young age to fuel the war effort from the territories that the specific nation you came from. Naruto Namikaze. First son of Minato Namikaze, born into war from the Jonin's first wife Mikoto Uchiha. Lost his mother at an early age when she gave birth to his baby brother Itachi and lost his father and beloved stepmother. 5 years later. Lost both his brothers to the war. Meeting a pretty girl in the capital of Grass Country during his downtime on a mission. The two continued to meet. For years to come. And then the 3rd Great Ninja War came to an end when the 5th Hokage, Jiraiya of the Sand and his godfather, settled an armistice with the 3rd Tsuchikage. The two lovers hated the war. And celebrated the end. But it was too late for Naruto, for he had fallen to the curse of the Uchiha. The eyes of his beloved brother powering his left eye eternal Manjikyu Sharingan. The blood of the Senju. His father's blood powering his tomoe rinnegan on the right. Hatred built up until he snapped. Konoha humiliated from the demands of the Tsuchikage. He left the village. After meeting one last time with his longtime lover he left her, didn't even stick around long enough to find out she was pregnant with his child. He mastered the gift left by his parents' sacrifice. 6 months into his defection the mixed blood manifested, granting him the legendary Taijutsu. Rinnegan. 1 year 6 months later he was ready. Appearing in the middle of the hidden rock. Destroying the tower of the Tsuchikage. When his ex-lover gave chase. He took her to the village that started it all. Unleashing the Kyuubi from within. It didn't take long for the other 2 Jinchuriki to show up. After all, the malevolent chakra of the most powerful tailed beast could be felt all over the world. History repeating itself as the descendant of Madara Uchiha threatened to destroy. But like his ancestor he too would fail. Do not falter now Naruto. Only true peace can be achieved when they're being controlled. Naruto thought to himself. Unseen to anyone else in the battlefield. He allowed himself a fraction of a moment of weakness. A single tear slipped from his left eye. His mother death in childbirth grief granted him his Sharingan. His father and stepmother gave their lives sealing the Kyuubi into him. He saved his youngest brother from a bad fate. 9-year-old Jonin saw him awaken the Manjikyu Sharingan when his parents stopped the Kyuubi's claw with their body. 10 years old meeting his would-be girlfriend. 12 years old receiving the news that his youngest brother, Hideyoshi, had been assassinated. 16 years old when Itachi's sacrifice had gifted him his eternal Manjikyu, taking his brother's pain as his own. It all came to heel for this moment. If he succeeded now. Then the peace that his family had died for would become a reality. He looked at his ex Kuretsuchi. He looked at the 2 Jinchuriki ready for battle. Naruto, stop this madness. Stop, why are you doing this? His beloved Kuro-chan pleaded. And he steeled his resolve. My people are in fear, while your dear grandpa make demands. This isn't the peace my family fought and bled for. That farce of a treaty is a failed experiment. He replied, putting his toughest act. He would bring peace to the world. And killing the person he loved the most would be the first step. Capturing the tailed beast would be the second. And if he failed. Then God have mercy on his soul. I do not care if you were my lover Kamizuru. I will kill you. He gathered his hatred. His tomoe rinnegan flared to life, the fight began. 3 days of fighting, landscape changed and terraforming the land around them. He had taken out the 4 tails Jinchuriki. With only hand at her side Kuretsuchi signaled for the man to tank the 9 tails. Long since had the Susanoo fallen of the Kyuubi. The man known as the god of shinobi too running low on chakra. Only his relationship to the beast keeping them fighting together. What no one knew was the conversation going on in a different plane. Scene change in a plain white room. The 9-tailed beasts manifested themselves. Son Goku and Kakuya were immediately hostile to Kurama. Why call us here Nyasan? The monkey snarled. The nine-tailed fox held his paw. Son. I'm sorry for the destruction my container is causing. But I knew that even with my strength he will fail. I gathered us here because of the reason my Jinchuriki has chosen to set out on this path. He explained. That did not placate his sibling. That girl suffered when he turned up just to break up with her. She was pregnant with his kid. And now he comes destroys part of her home and now is fighting her in a deathmatch. What possibly good reason could your container have to explain his actions? Snarled Koku. The other-tailed beast looked at Kurama expectantly. The fox knew he had been put on the spot. But he had to make the case. Or else generations to come would too fall prey to the curse. During Itachi's last moments he made my container aware of a stone tablet written by father. When we visited said stone. At the time I was confused. Because it spoke about returning the calamity and casting that technique. He became obsessed with finding peace and that monstrosity was his answer. When I realized the stone had been tampered with it was too late. He had fallen into the same cycle his putrid ancestors did. He explained. Jaiuki looked at his oldest brother. As the second-born he understood the importance of their creator's work. And he had witnessed what was left of the calamity. He shuddered just thinking about it. But even then he wasn't about to let his brother off the hook. Even still, why are you aiding him? It's not like you're under the effects of his eyes. The Nine-Tails questioned. Kurama looked at his siblings. Naruto Namikaze had come into some toxin that even I couldn't cure. He has been fighting it for years. He knows his time is limited. Even though what he is doing will not bring true peace. I'm not gonna toss him aside simply because he was wrong. He showed me the kindness that only father showed us. Even through the fact I skewered his parents. Through me he got those cursed eyes. But he never turned them on me. He forgave me. I'll at least give him this last battle. If he wins he would set the stage for peace. If he lost. He would leave his legacy behind. He stated proudly. He turned back to his brother. I know she had his kits. I smelled it that day. He knows. His hatred is strong. Strong enough to allow him to turn his back on everything he loves to this day still. But he's still struggling. His Uchiha blood makes his ability to hate and love greater than normal people. He still struggles. But it is his only means to find peace. A sacrifice so this world may survive. Kurama took a calming breath. I'm here in the hopes that when he falls. You son and Koku protect his kid. And for the rest of you a warning that someone else has been pulling the strings. He is not the only one who is aware of the infinite Tsukiyomi. Scene break. Naruto couldn't continue to fight. He was at an end. His chakra was low. His partner was low on chakra. The poison that have plagued him had caught up with him. He kneeled in one leg coughing up blood. And saw the opportunity and restrained the Kyuubi. Guritsuchi message had been received and her summons returned to her. With a baby at hand barely a year old. She knew what she had to do and began to run through hand seals summoning an altar. Naruto saw from his position atop the Kyuubi's head. Popping his last soldier pill into his mouth. He saw his daughter. The proof he had indeed loved his lover. Even if they stood opposing side of the war. His EMS flared to life. Protect my daughter Kurama. He said. Both Kurama and Han heard him. Koku looked in alarm as Naruto swirled out of existence. Moments later here he appeared in front of the mother of his child. But before she could completely even set her daughter on the altar she felt Naruto appear. Placing down, Kuritsuchi took up a kunai prepared to defend her precious little girl. Inside she prayed to whatever deity existed that the man-turned monster in front of her held some shred of her husband humanity. And that he would at least spare a child. She held on to that hope as she saw the tears form and fall from his face. For the first time since she married Naruto. She felt a shift in his chakra. Gone was the cold and foul feel. Even the darkness was more comforting. Then she heard him speak. I can't believe I won't live long enough to see her grow up. Guritsuchi's hope bloomed a bit more. Naruto, just surrender. I'm sure we could show you some leniency. Naruto shook his head. Kuritsuchi. During the attack on Kumo I was hit by an unknown poison. No doctor left alive could cure it. I could only buy time. Kuritsuchi felt her hopes go up in smoke once more. She looked at Naruto. Kurohime. I'm dying. And when I did I wanted to ensure that our family. He was interrupted by a coughing fit. She looked as more and more blood fell from his mouth. She yelled at him, why did you leave? We could have been a family. Naruto looked at the baby who had woken up crying at the sound of her mother's scream. I never wanted for any children. I would have fathered with you to be born into a broken world. I failed at that. I failed at protecting my brothers. I broke the promise I made mother. I failed you. I'm a failure that failed everyone. Care for her Kuritsuchi. Because the curse of hatred will come around full circle. War will start again. He weaved hand seals and using his connection to the Kyuubi, sealed the beast up into the 1-year-old using the 7 tetragram seal. Naruto took his last remaining kunai. It was the special kind his father used and handed it to Kuritsuchi. If you still love me and my suffering. She took his kunai trembling and stabbed his heart. sobbing into his armored chest. Naruto hugged her one last time and uttered his last words to her, "I love you Kuretsuchi. Always, in this life and the next." And so passed Naruto Namikaze. But before Kuretsuchi could do anything to the body, it disappeared in a puff of smoke. Leaving her very confused. Very confused, unaware that some life still remained on the man that once was the love of her life. Chapter 2. A strange summoning. Naruto found himself in a forest remarkably similar to that of his birthplace. He walked around for a bit until he came upon a familiar figure. "Welcome Naruto Namikaze," stated the figure. Before Naruto stood the first Hokage. "Hashirama Senju. Hashirama-sama." He greeted the Senju before him, waved for him to follow as he led towards a bench. "To think that a descendant of my clan and the blood of Madara would one day come to be. I am happy to meet you," the former Hokage stated. Naruto responded in kind, "I am glad to meet you Hokage-sama." Hashirama smiled a bit. "You can just call me Hasamaru, you know. You've more than earned it." Naruto shook his head in disagreement. "I don't, sir. I betrayed my back on everything. My village, my family and my friends. I killed many. I don't see how I could have possibly earned it," he said. Hating himself. He allowed hatred to cloud his judgment. He didn't listen to Kurama about the tampering of the stone tablet. He went on to betray his village, killing all those sent to stop him. He regretted leaving his Kuretsuchi. Damn, he regretted a lot of things. Hashirama nodded. "We all do things we all regret. I regret not seeing my best friend descend into the darkness sooner. I regret not being good enough to protect my younger brothers. I have a lot of regrets, Naruto. We all do. What matters is the choices we make afterwards that count. Your choice to protect your daughter. Your choice to put your father's happiness over your own. Your choice to make yourself the Jinchuriki instead of letting your youngest brother carry the burden. Your choice to continue to love the Iwa Kunoichi even though she was an enemy of a nation that threatened your own. Your choice to confront her. Did you know that it could lead her to releasing Konoha of the reparations demand that her grandfather imposed? Or that she too will choose to have your daughter raised in Konoha under Jiraiya's eye? Restoring the balance that the Jinchuriki provide. Or again, maybe not. But it is the choices we make that shape ourselves and the world around us. But still, there is one more choice, however, that you must make." The first Hokage told the man in front of him. Naruto asked, "What choice?" "You are still needed somewhere. I don't know where. But if you succeed there, you can move on to the afterlife with your family." Naruto looked at him with an odd eyebrow. "What's my other choice?" Naruto asked. "Hell," the first Hokage deadpanned. Naruto's eyebrow twitched. "Deadman blackmail. I'll do it." The first Hokage smiled and clapped. "Great." Then the world around him went black. In another dimension, Konoha, the nine-tailed Jinchuriki Hitomi Uzumaki, stood in front of the third Hokage. Earlier today, Academy teacher Chunin Mizuki had attempted to trick the girl into stealing the forbidden scroll of seals. Iruka, another academy, and Chunin had put a stop to it, not without injury. Now the third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi was getting a recount of the events. Not that he needed it, he had been watching the girl and the events from his crystal eye. But standard procedure and all. Besides, he wanted to talk to the girl. Make sure that she was alright after the revelation. After all, she was his responsibility. "Is that Al Hitomi-chan?" he asked her. For a moment she looked contemplative before getting on her hyperactive hype. "Oh yeah Gigi, I learned another jutsu that I wanted to show you, but I haven't tried it yet." Can I? She asked, yelled excitedly. On the outside, the Hokage keep his lighter aura around him on the inside. However, what jutsu would she take, he thought to himself, worried hopefully. Nothing too dangerous or that could affect the seal. He nodded. The excited girl bit her thumb and ran through the hand seals that the Hokage recognized. "I have to stop her. There's no telling what could happen," but before he could act, she finished the jutsu. It was only 5 hand seals really. She slammed her hands on the floor and shouted, "Summoning jutsu." A seal summoning matrix appeared for a second and a cloud of smoke appeared. And when it dispersed, a teenager looking between the age of 17 and 18 wearing heavy armor that reminded the Hokage of the Senju style of armor during the clan wars. The main difference was it covered more of the teen's body. Including armored boots. Most shinobi even back then only protected their chest, shoulders, and neck. Upper arms and thighs if they were really picky. But the person that lay in front of him wearing a full set of armor slightly reminiscent of the samurai. The Hokage noticed, however, the kunai sticking into the armor surrounded by bits of blood. The teen himself had spiky long black hair. He was startled out of his thoughts by Hitomi, who had screamed in fear. He burst out in laughter. "Well Hitomi-chan. You summoned yourself an injured shinobi. Who knows, you might have saved his life," he told her before calling in a team of medics. 2 hours later, the medic Nin had informed him the wound had been taken care of and the patient had stabilized. So he made his way towards the Anbu building. "Inoichi," he called out to the head of T. The blonde-haired man startled and bowed to the Hokage in a respectful greeting. "No need for formalities. I need you to do a mind dive," he stated seriously. Inoichi looked at him. Hokage-sama, I know that Mizuki is tough, but do we really need to go that far? The Hokage shook his head. Not Mizuki, Inoichi. Today, while recounting the incident, Hitomi-chan attempted a summoning technique. It failed mostly. But she did succeed in summoning a body. I still sensed a chakra pulse, however I want to know who the shinobi is. He stated. Inoichi understood. Better safe than sorry. Next day, the Hokage sat in his office when Inoichi came in to report the findings. Hokage-sama, during my initial mind dive, I discovered that the subject had a mind shield similar to that of high-ranking Konoha shinobi. I spent approximately 3 hours navigating the shields. The physiology of the subject is what piqued my interest. It seems that the patient is an Uchiha or has Uchiha descent. Inoichi reported. The Hokage took a puff of smoke from his pipe. An Uchiha alive, that was at risk. The only surviving Uchiha of the massacre were Makoto Uchiha, her son Sasuke, and of course the one who destroyed the Uchiha clan, Itachi Uchiha. This could either be a gift or a curse. He flared his chakra, and a couple of minutes later his own physician Yakushi Hashi appeared in his office. You called Hokage-sama? Greeted the medical ninja. Sarutobi looked at him before giving him a set of orders. Hashi. I want you to run a full blood scan of an interesting patient we came across. We suspect he is an Uchiha, but match him to every person that has lived in this village that has a medical record. Hashi looked at the Hokage with surprised. Everyone, Hokage-sama? The medic asked. Yes. Everyone, even the Hokage if you have to. The medic nin nodded. Permission to run a full medical scan then. The medic nin half asked half stated. Granted. The Hokage replied. The medic nin left the office to carry out his orders. The Hokage turned back to Inoichi. I want you to at the very least come up with an identity. I don't want to have any surprises. Dismissed. Inoichi flickered out of the office. Moments later Hitomi burst into the office. Gigi, I got my picture taken. She said, handing him the ninja license to him. It was a good picture. He half expected her to put on silly makeup on and make some weird pose, but she had apparently curbed the prankster in her for this document. The Hokage stamped her license. Good luck. He told her. Hitomi looked uncomfortable. Nejiji, what happened to that guy I summoned? She asked. Sarutobi rubbed his forehead. He will be back on his feet soon. Hitomi-chan. But why the interest? Ooh, is Hitomi developing a crush on our mysterious armored man? He teased her a bit. The blonde girl cried in horror. No. I mean Gigi. He was hurt. Outside the door an assailant spied on the two. He took his shuriken and prepared. Inside the room the Hokage noticed a person and exhaling a little smoke from his pipe. He thought to himself, my grandson. Another headache. The kid threw open the door and ran inside yelling, prepare yourself old man, I will defeat you and become the 5th Hokage. Hitomi confused let out an E. The kid suddenly face planted. Losing grasp of his paper shuriken. When he got up he pointed at Hitomi and exclaimed, hey, you tripped me. Hitomi took offense and grabbed the kid by the collar of his shirt. You tripped over your own 2 feet, idiot. Another man burst through the door. Once he saw Hitomi he exclaimed, unhand the honorable grandson right now. That's the grandson of the 3rd Hokage. The kid got a cocky smirk on his face. I bet you won't do anything to me now, you oldie. Hit me in front of Gramsam. Hitomi got a tick mark on her forehead. I don't care if is your grandma, and socked the kid on the back of the head. She waved the Hokage goodbye and left. Sarutobi sweat dropped just like Kushina, I swear. Konoha Ninja Hospital, restricted section, room 3. With Hashi done taking all the blood sample, Inoichi got to doing what he does best. Channeling chakra through 12 hand seals. He touched the patient's head and started the jutsu. It was a mind jutsu designed to allow him to view memories without disarming or alerting mind defenses. After a while of searching, he stumbled upon a memory. Memory start. In a dimly lit room Jonin stood around the Hokage. The Hokage himself with his trademark pipe around his mouth began to speak. Approximately 4 days ago, a cloud shinobi successfully infiltrated our village. He proceeded with a series of assassinations. The Uchiha, Nara and Inyazuka clans were hit, alongside the youngest son of our own 4th Hokage Hideyoshi Namikaze. In total 13 people were killed. We suspect they were more seeing as the clans were so spread out in the village. We also suspect they also targeted the family of our late 4th. Thankfully both young Itachi and Naruto were out in the front against Iwa. Everyone in the room was Samar. Kakashi Haddock. Someone Naruto considered a brother cried out, what are we gonna do Hokage-sama? They have to pay. The Hokage sighed. I will personally alongside Danzo take charge of the front in Iowa. The treaty with Suna ensures we won't have to worry about the western border for a while, allowing us to relocate some of our troops. Jiraiya stepped out of the shadows. I will personally lead the assault on Lightning Country. Naruto Namikaze, Fugaku Uchiha and Kakashi Haddock will be my sub-commanders. Be ready to deploy in 2 hours. Time is victory. The scene changed. This time they were on a semi-mountainous region. Rain was falling all around Naruto as he stepped up to the command tent. Jonin Namikaze reporting for duty. He reported in. Jiraiya standing in front of a desk looking at a map. Naruto. Most of our left flank has collapsed. If this assault is to succeed, take care of the problem. Jiraiya ordered. Hi, acknowledged Naruto. As he headed out of the tent just before exiting though, Jiraiya called out to Naruto. Naruto stopped to look at his godfather. The Toad Sannin looked at the kid he viewed as his own grandson. Make it home, kid. I don't think either Itachi or myself can take another loss. He told Naruto. I promised my brother to come him. I don't plan on breaking that promise, grandfather. And he left the tent. But still heard the Sannin saying his parents would be proud of him. He headed towards Kakashi's tent. Kakashi, let's go. We got a mission. The white-haired man came out of his tent. Where to? He asked as he got his utility belt buckled up. Going to saving the Uchiha. Scene faded. On a plane, Fugaku directed his soldiers. Only about 100 to the 2.000 Cloud Shinobi. He would defend his position with his life. After all, he had kids to come home to. Two people landed in the middle of his position. Activating his Sharingan, he turned to face the newcomers. A 19-year-old Kakashi and a 16-year-old Naruto. The man had mad respect for the kid. To take his Sharingan to the level he was at. The kid might not bear the name, but he was an Uchiha through and through. Naruto walked up to him. What's the situation? He asked straight to the point. Fugaku grimaced. We're outnumbered 20-1. The other attacks were a ploy to draw our attention away. We've been holding so far, but a fighting retreat might not look bad right now. Naruto kneeled and channeled chakra to the storage seals in his wrist. The bow, fairly plain, made out of chakra conductive metal, and arrows made of the same material popped out of said seals. Time to unveil my new technique, he said. Kakashi looked at him with a blank face. A bow? Really, Naruto? He remarked. Naruto took offense. It had been a gift from his girlfriend. Thinking of her, he paused for a second. Hiding who he was hurting him. But he wouldn't risk his friend. Getting back on track, he looked at Kakashi. This bow is just a conduit. He turned to Fugaku. Got any kunai launchers left? He asked his fellow jonin. Got all three still. Naruto unsealed a sealing scroll. Load these kunai into them and launch them at the feet of the enemy. It will make the technique much more effective. Fugaku nodded. A minute later, the kunai were launched and he began to channel lightning chakra into his hands. Sending the ball of lightning into the air. Clouds began to form. He drew his bow. And aimed at the center of the trap that the cloud ninja were still moving towards too. He channeled lightning chakra into his arrow. And wind chakra into the bow. He steadied his breath. And when the enemy moved into position, he loosened his arrow. Lightning technique. Indra's arrow. The arrow flew true, and when it hit a random unsuspecting chunin, the technique triggered and a lightning storm fell where the enemy was. And because it wasn't chakra produced lightning but true ionized clouds having an electrical discharge, no shinobi had a chance. A large portion of the formation was dead. Some dying still. And those still alive were mortally wounded or unable to fight. He dropped down from his position. And moved towards the center of the field. Another wave of shinobi appeared from the tree line. This time. With the recently named Raikage leading them. Minato's brat. No wonder. You bastards make armies flee. Naruto activated his Manjikyu. You killed my brother. I looked at him. That was a shinobi. Not me, Naruto snarled. A shinobi under your command. I responded. This is war. What else do you expect? Naruto laughed darkly. I was born into war. It is you who has no idea how bad war can get. He gathered chakra into his left eye. Prepared when he felt the built-up of chakra. Hamui, Naruto whispered, and his form became ethereal. He put away his bow and took out his gun by and comma. He looked like a mini Madara, noted. And Naruto ran at the contingent of Cloud Shinobi. Again, no matter how outnumbered he was, his Manjikyu allowed him to defeat the army in front of him. He turned towards who just watched as his 500 men and women were slaughtered. My father once told me he spared you and your brother. I don't know what he saw in you. But I will allow you to leave today. But should we cross paths again, I will end your life. The scene changed again. This time Naruto was in front of a girl. She looked about the same age as him. She was pissed. You're a Konoha shinobi. She screamed at him, throwing a little book at him. Naruto recognized it as a bingo book. He opened a marked page and saw his name and picture with a moniker. Naruto Namikaze, Hami no Shinobi, son of Minato Namikaze, mother. Unknown, suspected to be an Uchiha. Wanted. Hidden Cloud 2.300.000, alive 2.000.000, dead. Ranking S class. Abilities. Powerful lightning affinity has been observed to have proficiency in many forms of combat: ninjutsu, taijutsu, jinjutsu, fuinjutsu, kinjutsu, Hekkei Jinkai. Sharingan has been noted to often throw jutsu from all elemental natures. Proficiency in each unknown. Has large amounts of chakra. Engagement. Flee on sight. Naruto had to be honest with himself. He might not know the flying Raijin and made small headway on the Rasengan. But to earn a flee on sight on his own. And at a young age to boot. Putting the book down, he saw Kuretsuchi in front of him. Crying. He understood. He had his own suspicion for a while. But she was a shinobi of the hidden rock. He took a deep breath. Well? Kuretsuchi demanded. Naruto stepped forward a bit. You can't act as if you at least didn't suspect, Kuro-chan. We are shinobi. Good ones at that. He told her. I know. But the son of the fourth. You're the spawn of the murderer. Naruto was taken aback. His father a murderer? Pot calling the kettle black. How many Iwa berserkers have killed indiscriminately? How many hasn't your Tsuchikage killed leaving not even a hair to bury? He shot back. Kuretsuchi was incensed. Don't talk about grandpa like that. That did it for Naruto. His Sharingan spun to life and faster than the eye could see he had Kuretsuchi pressed against a wall, kunai against her throat. You're the granddaughter of that murderer. He stated. Kuretsuchi knew true fear those moments. Now she knew why the Sharingan was feared everywhere. Those red soulless eyes that peered into her very being. She swallowed up her fear. Yes. Naruto pressed the kunai further. Did you know that he signed an order that saw an assassination attempt on the life of a pregnant woman? She was poisoned. To save the baby's life, the doctors were forced to extract the baby from her womb. She had a 3-year-old son who she spent the last moments of her life with. Her last gifts to me were my brother and my Sharingan. The assailant was killed by my father, so I swore I would get Inoki myself. Kuretsuchi thought she was going to die. And she would have. But Naruto couldn't do it. He, Naruto Namikaze, feared Konoha Jonin, who had destroyed an army. Couldn't kill his best friend. Even though she was the granddaughter of the person he hated the most. Slowly the kunai slipped from his hands. Say what you want, but he was still 16 years old. And a 16 years old shouldn't find it to kill his own best friend. Crying, drowning on his self-hatred. He recalled his mother's last words to him: don't drown yourself in the hatred that plagues the Uchiha, my son. Or you will lose sight of everything he cared for. Even though Kuretsuchi herself had lost her mother to the fourth Hokage. She couldn't hate her friend. Impossible now. No one understood her better. Slowly she hugged him. She understood now. She was feeling love. Should have been impossible. After all, they were supposed to be killing each other. But how could they? Both blood of their respective cage. Both lost family because of the cage that opposed them. Both fighting for the survival of their village. Both of them sick of the conflict. Naruto hugged Kuretsuchi back like a lifeline. I hate this war. He told her. Kuretsuchi smiled. She leaned in and whispered into his ear, I know a way to bring peace. Naruto pulled back and looked into her black eyes. How? He asked her. She smiled and leaned to kiss his lips. We become the strongest. Become the cage of our village. Marry, establish peace. Have children. She told him. Naruto closed his eyes and leaned in his kuro. Felt good thinking that. If it were that easy, he suddenly thought to himself. He looked at the girl before him. She was a prodigy in her village. But she entered the conflict late. She had barely gotten to Jonin. He didn't doubt her strength. One day her strength would grow to match his. He thought of the Kyuubi sealed in him. She would match his innate potential minus Kyuubi. Is this what you want, Kuretsuchi? He asked her, looking straight in the eye. That is my dream, Naruto-kun. I will fight to make it a reality. Naruto smiled and kissed her. Then I promise you that I will ensure that I will help you achieve your dreams. Memory end. Inoichi ended the jutsu. He took his notepad and began to write. Patient's name. Naruto Namikaze, Uchiha. Memory status. Real. Very real memory. Side note. Run memory a few more times. Extra notes. Patient seems to have unknown origins. Parental identity should be impossible. The only person Minato Namikaze married or had children with was with Kushina Uzumaki. Summoning is a time-space technique. It's possible that Hitomi Uzumaki pulled the patient from another dimension. Perhaps like how the toads live on a different plane of existence. Blood tests should either confirm or deny the results. Inoichi sighed. You're proving to be interesting. Inoichi ran through the hand seals and restarted the technique. This time another memory, this one more recent, made its way to the forefront. Memory. Jiraiya had been pursuing him. For 3 days. He was sitting in the shoulders of Madara Uchiha. Tell me, grandfather, is this how you felt? He talked to the stone statue of his ancestor. Jiraiya landed on the head of the first Hokage. Naruto. Come back to the village. Why are you doing this? Naruto stood up from his position. You followed me for no reason. Return to the village. I won't fight you today. The fifth Hokage took offense. Are you crazy, Naruto? You betrayed Konoha. You are betraying everything your family fought and bleed for. My family. Don't spit on their graves. The temperature dropped a couple of degrees. Don't talk about them. Everything I'm doing is for them. So another war doesn't erupt that swallows up everything. So other kids don't have to be born and raised in the battlefields. Jiraiya looked at him. Don't be stupid, you're more likely to start a war. Naruto looked at his master and godfather. Did you know, grandfather, that when I was 10 I met an Iwa Kunoichi during my deployment to Kusa? That ever since then we became friends and eventually lovers. Jiraiya looked at him as he talked. You know, when I found out she was the granddaughter of the Tsuchikage I couldn't kill her. He said softly. Jiraiya looked at him. Naruto, the war is over, you could have just be open about your relationship. Naruto chuckled in a way that made Jiraiya shivered. You know. That day she made me promise something. We both would have become the Kages of our village. I would have become the Hokage. And she would have become the Tsuchikage. We would have gotten married. He whispered. But Jiraiya heard him. Back then she was young and idealistic. She hadn't seen much warfare yet. He laughed darkly. I made an empty promise that day. Only when someone is in control can there be peace. Jiraiya's eyes widened. His grandson wanted to conquer the elemental nations. Naruto, that's madness. He shouted. Naruto just looked at him apathetically. You must be a bigger fool than I thought, Jiraiya. You must be blind to not see it. The shinobi of Konoha. There isn't the Tsuchikage and his demands. They will pass that hatred on to their children. And sooner or later, on their own volatile. Will spark the fourth great ninja war. And win or lose the cycle will start over. He said bitterly. Activating his newly acquired eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, he looked at Jiraiya. I will be the villain Konoha needs me to be. And swirled away. The memory faded and another one took its place. This time even Inoichi couldn't ignore the resemblance between Madara Uchiha and the person that Naruto Namikaze was turning out to be. In the middle of a village. The memory showed him Naruto summoning the Kyuubi. Standing on top of the beast gunbai and Kama in hand. On the opposite side stood an older Kuretsuchi standing on top of a lava golem. And on her sides the 4 and 5-tailed beast. He watched the confrontation. Awed at the power shinobi of the caliber demonstrated to have. He saw Naruto push his 3 opponents for almost 3 days. Until he realized Naruto was in some way sick. He watched as Naruto interacted with the granddaughter of the Tsuchikage. He saw him seal the Kyuubi into a baby. Before he handed his kunai into his ex-lover. And took the killing blow. Inoichi didn't envy him then. Inoichi spent 2 more hours viewing memories until he came upon the memory that changed his perception on the patient. Memory. Naruto burst through the medical tent. The Hokage's summon had told him of his brother being mortally wounded. Naruto didn't hesitate. He rushed to his brother's side. He couldn't lose his brother. Itachi of the 2 things he still had left. He arrived and immediately knew his brother wouldn't make it through the night. Itachi. He screamed as he rushed to his brother's side, taking his brother's hand in his own. Itachi was missing 2 legs, both blown. Severe burns could be seen through his body. Bruises and cuts covered what wasn't taken or burnt. Itachi opened his eyes. I'm sorry, Naruto Nai. I couldn't let them die. Naruto teared up as he reassured his brother. It's okay. It's okay, you did well. Rest, Itachi, you deserve it. Itachi coughed. Naranai. Take my eyes. They will return your faded light. Itachi coughed some more. Naruto was going blind from using his Manjikyu. But he wouldn't take his brother's. Naranai cough, take them cough. I'm a dead man cough, and remember cough. What I told you, cough be as potent cough as the venom of a cough cobra. Naruto sobbed. As he held onto his dying brother. Itachi, I'm proud of what you become. You become stronger than I ever was. Naruto told Itachi. Itachi smiled. Don't pity me, cough cough Naruto. Pity the living, cough. I'll be looking with pride, cough, as the next cough of kin is making cough cough history. Naruto nodded. Itachi continued to struggle. Call. A doctor, Naruto. Naruto responded immediately. Doctor. Doctor. The field med responded, kneeling down on the other side of the makeshift bed. What's wrong? The doctor asked. And Itachi requested the transfer of eyes. Naruto was shocked. He knew his brother wanted him to take his eyes. But what could have him in such a hurry? The doctor left to get the preparations done. Itachi looked at his brother. He relaxed a little. Trying to control his coughing fits. Naruto, when the transplant is done. I want you to talk to Fugaku about the stone tablet hidden under the Nakara shrine. Naruto nodded. The stone tablet must have meant something. Scene change. Naruto stood his new Manjikyu active. Reading the stone tablet his brother had told him about. He read about the Sharingan and its later stages, the Manjikyu and the Eternal Manjikyu. The story of Shinju, a way to bring peace by casting a Jinjutsu onto the moon. He explained these things to Fugaku, who was next to him. Fugaku looked at him and said this would never work. It's doomed to fail. Naruto looked at him. Tell me. If it brings peace, would you do it? Fugaku looked at him. You may not bear the name. But you're an Uchiha. Sometimes more so than any other. The two fell silent for a moment. We Uchiha value loyalty against all else. You proved yours when you stepped up to Danzo in our defense. I don't like it, but I will follow you. Naruto looked at the older man and said. I will become the villain Konoha needs. I can already see the gathering of the clouds. Peace will not last. I will take the hatred into myself. Fugaku, we both know I'm dying. The mixtures of medicine and the chakra inside me slows it down. I have a few years at best. If I die, can you carry on this for me? Fugaku nodded. I'll protect the Kunoichi too. Naruto bro hugged the man. You're one of the few that understand what we have to do. The memory faded away. Inoichi wrote down his findings. When Hashi stepped through. Have you found anything? The doctor asked. Inoichi nodded. Patient's name from what I found is Naruto Namikaze, born to Minato Namikaze and Makoto Uchiha. As a powerful stage of the Sharingan known as the Eternal Manjikyu and possibly an even more advanced stage, but while I saw it in action, I didn't see anything that points towards the name of the Dojutsu. Has been sick with some sort of terminal disease. Grew up fighting in an extended third ninja war. Born into it from I can gather. Had a relationship with the granddaughter of the third Tsuchikage despite being a Konoha shinobi. Became a missing nin and used the Kyuubi to attack the hidden rock. Inoichi summarized. Hashi impressed stated jokingly. What is he, some sort of mini Madara? Inoichi nodded and added some other things. I gathered was that he was an orphan who lost his mother when he was a 3-year-old and lost his father and stepmother 5 years later. Lost a brother 2 years after to an assassination attempt and lost the other at 17. Before finally deserting the village. Hashi whistled. I don't doubt that he must have some serious issues. Inoichi looked at him. His mental health is only slightly worse than Kakashi. Constant warfare desensitized him to death. He developed a bit of an obsession with finding peace. But his own mortality kept him grounded to reality. How was the medical analysis? Inoichi asked. Hashi took his notepad and began the DNA testing. Indeed confirms the identity of his parents. He does have traces of toxins in his bloodstream, but I was able to take care of that. I found large quantities of medical cocktails which I guess served to buy him time. Hope you have an answer to that. His chakra levels were low and showed signs of being in prolonged combat. Going back to the DNA analysis, Minato was part Senju, so maybe the mixing of Senju and Uchiha blood did something to his Dojutsu. Who knows, maybe Hokage-sama knows something. Right now we are keeping him sedated. Inoichi stood up and the two went to report to the Hokage. Chapter 3. Meeting Naruto Namikaze. Hokage office. Reading the report, the Hokage looked at the two, then back at the report. Then handed it to the other man standing in the room. Sensei, the summoning technique is a space-time ninjutsu. There's a reason why it is not done without a contract. Maybe Hitomi pulled what could be some alternate version of herself. The Hokage took his pipe and filled it with tobacco before lighting it and taking a puff. A potentially mentally unstable mini Madara version of herself, no doubt. I swear that girl gets into the weirdest situation without trying. The Hokage asked. Hiruzen then looked at Jiraiya and ordered slap chakra restraining seals on him. That Dojutsu worries me. Sounds like the rinnegan. Jiraiya looked at him. I don't know, Sensei. Nagato had 2 rinnegan and they didn't have tomoe on them. Hiruzen shrugged his shoulders. Maybe Nagato was in Uzumaki with traces of an Uchiha. And this Naruto is an Uchiha with Senju blood. Here eyes the professor. I'll get to it, Sensei. And Jiraiya vanished. Hiruzen turned to the medic and the head of TI. Shall we greet our guest? 2 hours later. Naruto groaned as he awoke. A white ceiling met his eyes. He used his hand to stop the light from bothering his tired eyes. Was it a dream? Did I really fight Kuro? He thought to himself, did I really get a second chance elsewhere? A cough caught his attention. Naruto sitting up sat up and looked towards his left. Standing there was a very much alive Hiruzen Sarutobi. Looking every bit the shinobi that he had looked up in his younger years. Hokage-sama? He asked slightly confused. Am I dead yet? The Hokage fought to keep his laughter reined in. Shinobi-san. I have a few questions for you, just so we are all in. The Hokage said in business mode. Brown orbs looking at black and concentric purple. Your name is Namikaze? Naruto. No. Naruto nodded. The Hokage continued. You're a Konoha shinobi? Naruto nodded. Jonin. 1st Army. 2 Fighting Battalion. 5th Company 1st Platoon. Adding. The Hokage nodded. Then you understand Konoha procedure for unidentified shinobi. Naruto nodded. A member of the Anbu torture and interrogation conducts a mind dive. Naruto replied before flinching. Where am I? The Hokage relaxed his attitude a bit. Around 2100 hours, someone attempted a summoning technique. They failed mostly. But you showed up with a knife intended for your heart. Whoever stabbed you missed and our medic nin were able to close the wound. Naruto nodded. You're saying I travel some sort of dimension or something? The Hokage nodded. There are some issues, however. Your parentage. Makoto Uchiha married Fugaku Uchiha. And your father married Uzumaki Kushina. Naruto blinked. So you're saying I don't exist here? No, you don't. Stated the Hokage blankly. How's the war? Asked Naruto. Hiruzen thought to himself, he really grew up fighting. He sighed internally and told Naruto, fortunately there is no war. Not to the extent that your memories. I was surrendered when Minato overturned the Battle of Kanabi Bridge, exterminating over 1,000 enemy and destroying their supply line. Naruto blinked. And blinked again. And blinked some more, then burst out laughing. Wait. You're telling that shit bridge being destroyed shortened the war by 10 fucking years. His laugh turned bitter. Why didn't we think of that? The Hokage blinked. The ironic twist of how one detail could change the course of history. Who was the Hokage in your time? Naruto didn't even think twice. Hiruzen Sarutobi. Pupil of the 1st and 2nd Hokage. Known as the Professor. Sarutobi looked at the young man in front of him. Are you trying to make fun of me? Naruto shook his head quickly. It's a fact, sir. We won the battle of Konoha Bridge, but we took the bridge. We didn't destroy it. Although the fighting dwindled, the Kyuubi attack ensured the war would continue. Konoha and Iwa eventually signed an armistice in which Iwa benefited more from making demands due to their slightly better position. Despite the fact that Suna and Kuma lost the war against us. We simply spent more time, men and resources fighting three major powers when Iwa only fought Suna and some minor nations. He said. Before his expression turned sour again, although the armistice came 10 years too late. Sarutobi nodded. He understood dislike for war. For he himself was a pacifist. The two talked clarifying things about Naruto's past. His defection up until his attack on Iwa and his fight that all but destroyed Grass Country. I am worried about your mental state, Naruto. Only person I personally know that has lost as much as you is Tsunade, and she gambles and drinks across the elemental nations. Stated Sarutobi. Naruto nodded. I grew up in war. I was out the academy age 5. Chunin when I turned 7 and became a Jonin at 8. I was at Konoha Bridge. And I was there when dad took on the Kyuubi. I begged him to let me take the Kyuubi and to spare little Hideyoshi. My stepmom begged dad to allow her to take the Kyuubi with her to her death. But it would only be a stopgap measure. I didn't want to burden my youngest brother with shinobi businesses. So they sealed it in my using a 10-symbol seal. I saw them die. It's what triggered my manjikyu. He told the old man I have been in all 3 major front. Leading my own platoon against Kumo. I was just used to death by that point. The Hokage looked at Naruto with sympathy. Standard procedure dictates that I have someone watching you. I know someone who can relate to you. Who knows, maybe you two can help each other. However, there are 2 more problems. Naruto looked at the Hokage. The first one is rather simple. Kakashi will take on a genin team. So I hope you will assist him if he passes them. Naruto quirked an eyebrow. This Kakashi still failing genin. This time the Hokage did laugh. Some things just don't change. The Hokage compassed himself. The second and most serious problem. Your identity. Well, I could essentially make you the son of Mikoto and Minato. The Uchiha clan has been reduced to just her and her youngest son Sasuke. Her oldest son. Itachi Uchiha exterminated the clan. Naruto looked at the Hokage. You know, if you're trying to sell me this person as a mass murderer, it's not working. Most likely something happened that forced your hand at exterminating the clan, and Itachi was just the scapegoat or the executioner. The Hokage had to give it to the kid. He was good. No, I guess not. The Uchiha clan elders were planning a coup d'etat. I tried to solve the matter diplomatically. But the village elders made it difficult. Until Danzo overstepped his authority and ordered Itachi in my name to kill the clan. Unfortunately, I can't put Konoha at risk, and Danzo has too much political backing to touch him. Naruto just quirked an eyebrow. Dude, we're shinobi. We do shady shit all the time. Why not fabricate something up and kill him? No one would bat an eye. The Hokage coughed a little. Now that's an idea worth looking into. Bastard thinks he can hide his route from me. The Hokage stopped himself. Anyway. I don't see how I can explain a Sharingan wielder appearing out of nowhere. He paused for a second and looked at the purple eye. That's a rinnegan if I'm not mistaken. Naruto nodded in affirmation. A tomoe rinnegan. A full rinnegan would require me to have the full blood of the sage. Meaning the Senju, Uzumaki and Uchiha. I have no trace of Uzumaki blood in me. And the only Uzumaki I knew was my stepmother. Hiruzen filed that away. A knock on the door and the 2 people inside turned to see Jiraiya come in. The okay sensei, you have been here a while. Hiruzen nodded to his student. Him fine, we have just been going over what we know of Naruto here and confirming what we know. Naruto, this Jiraiya. Naruto waved at the man. I know this pervert. Where I'm from, his is my godfather. Hiruzen smiled again. Oh, that is great. Naruto quirked an eyebrow and Jiraiya looked at his sensei. Sensei, what are you thinking? Hiruzen smiled widened. We can't deny Naruto is the son of Minato. Aside from the hair and the eyes, everything else is Minato's. Naruto, Minato and Kushina did have a daughter named Hitomi. Here she happens to be Jiraiya's goddaughter. If we can convince Mikoto that you are indeed her son. Your familiarity with Jiraiya could be used as a cover. We could even say Hitomi is your younger sister. She kind of is. Explained Sarutobi. Jiraiya blinked. That makes a lot of sense actually. But sensei, how are you gonna convince Mikoto? It's not like we can tell her the truth. Hiruzen looked at his student. Actually, we kinda do need to. Naruto here has the most advanced Sharingan seen in almost a century. In fact, we cannot afford to keep it hidden. And Uchiha this powerful doesn't just pop up, stated the old man. Naruto, I'll talk to Mikoto. I don't know how different the one I know will be from the one you knew. But remember, she is a single mother who is dealing with the burden of losing one of her sons and her family. Naruto looked at the Hokage. I will take care of her. I just hope she accepts me. The Hokage tipped his ceremonial hat and left the building. Ordering Jiraiya to retrieve the Uchiha matriarch. 30 minutes later. Hokage office. Makoto didn't know why she was being called to the Hokage office. She hoped Sasuke hadn't gotten into trouble. When she was led into the office by her former sensei and saw the Hokage on business mode, she really got worried. The Hokage dismissed the Anbu from his office. As he had done all the previous times when dealing with Naruto, he cleared his throat. "Sit down, Makoto. Keep an open mind as what we have to discuss may shock you," he said. "Hi, Hokage-san." Sarutobi opened a folder. "A day ago your goddaughter attempted to use the summoning technique. While she failed to summon any animal, her luck somehow managed to summon a teenager. This teenager was on death's door, kunai sticking out of his chest. While the doctors were closing his wounds, DNA samples were taken." He told her, taking one of the folders on his desk and sliding over to Makoto. "Namikaze Naruto, age? 19, sex? Male, high? 6'0", hair color black, closest maternal match. Makoto Uchiha 99.3%, closest paternal match. Minato Namikaze 99.0%, siblings. Hitomi Uzumaki, Itachi Uchiha, Sasuke Uchiha. Heike Genkai. Sharingan. Patient's health status aside from a stab to the heart and traces of toxins and extreme chakra exhaustion, the patient has no other health concerns." Makoto dropped the folder. "Hokage-sama, is this some kind of sick joke?" The Hokage, still completely serious, shook his head. "You know I would never play around like that, Makoto. Aside from the fact that we can't send him back to his own timeline. If you know what the kid went through you wouldn't even want to." Makoto took a deep breath. "Don't kill the Hokage just yet," she told herself. "It possibly couldn't have been that bad," she retorted. Jiraiya snorted. "Girl, if what I read from the report Inoichi wrote, I doubt any of us would be as seemingly sane as he appears to be." Hiruzen himself looked harshly at Makoto. "Tell me, what do you remember of the war?" Makoto didn't know where this was going. But she didn't like it. "I hated it, Hokage-sama. It was horrible. Before Minato finished his technique we were getting pushed back and Iwa had us on a fighting retreat," she told the Hokage. Hiruzen asked a different question. "Would you wish either of your children to go through such conflict?" Makoto snapped, "Hell no." Then Hiruzen stood up. "Inoichi showed me some memories of the kid." Naruto shared his own tales of the conflict. He was born into it, and when I say that, I mean the conflict had already been burning hot for 10 years prior to his birth. The villages were at an all-time low. Remember Kanabi Bridge? 8 years old he took part in that battle. He lost his mother at 4 years old to poisoning. His baby brother survived because the Makoto Uchiha he was born to had access to good doctors, and although they had to work fast, they managed to save a newborn baby and give the mother and son enough time for her to say her last goodbyes. 5 years later, 9 years old witnessed his father and stepmother sacrifice their life to stop the Kyuubi rampage on the village. His stepmother had given birth to his youngest brother, and they were gonna seal the beast in that baby. But he stared down his father into becoming the host of the Kyuubi, even though having no Uzumaki blood, the chakra of the beast could potentially kill him. 2 years later the same little brother was assassinated. It drove him mad enough to take on an entire battalion of Kumo shinobi and the Raikage and still win. 3 years later he lost his only remaining brother. That brother gave him his eyes, preventing blindness caused by the Manjikyu. A stage of the Sharingan he unlocked watching his father die. Makoto was rocked to her core. This person shared her DNA, he was supposed to be her son. Had gone through so much. She started to tear up. Hiruzen felt slightly bad. He didn't want to hurt the woman, but this was a serious situation. "I'm sorry Makoto, but this is a serious situation. I didn't mean to hurt you. But there is a reason why I want you to claim him as your son, not just because it would be convenient and easier to explain. But also there's the fact that being of mixed Senju Uchiha blood allowed him to reach a level of prowess we only ever seen in one person. He unlocked the legendary rinnegan. And has the EMS. From his own account and his own memory, he has already snapped once." Makoto felt her stomach turn. "What, so you mean he snapped?" Hiruzen sat back down. "He didn't make the war completely unscathed. Towards the last year he was poisoned. Using medical cocktails and his own resistances to most poison, he was able to fight it for years. But the strain of having so many deaths surrounding him and his fear of loss caused him to defect his Konoha. From what he admitted to us, the last time anyone saw him, he had destroyed the Tsuchikage's tower and challenged the mother of his child into battle." Jiraiya snorted. "Sensei. You're understating, challenge to battle. From what I read on that report he went full Madara Uchiha. He almost won too. That girl was lucky to have two Jinchuriki at her side and the fact he still cared for her and his child." Sarutobi looked at his student. "Jiraiya. We're not trying to scare Makoto." Hiruzen turned back to the Uchiha. "It's true, when he challenged her to battle he unleashed the might of the Kyuubi." Makoto turned towards Jiraiya. "If he was that powerful, how did he lose?" "You told me he was found near death when Hitomi-chan found him," she exclaimed. "Naruto Namikaze, at the time of the battle, was already dying for sure. The poison that had been in his system is similar to the one that Orochimaru attempted to kill Hitomi with. But from what we're told, good doctors by that point were extremely scared. He told me when he broke up with the girl, she had been between 2 and 4 weeks pregnant. And when he saw her bring the child into the mix and summon a sealing altar, he used the last of his failing strength to seal the Kyuubi into his child. Before asking the girl to kill him. Whatever trick of fate allowed Hitomi to summon him to us was a miracle. Explained the Hokage. Makoto, now placated, asked can I meet him? At the hospital, Naruto looked as the door opened. Slowly a raven-haired woman stepped through the door. She looked exactly how he remembered his mother to be. If only slightly older. Behind her the Hokage walked in. Makoto, this is Naruto. Naruto, this is Makoto. Makoto greeted shyly, analyzing the team before her. The eyes and the hair were definitely Uchiha. The eyes were her own. Everything else reminded her of Minato, though. From his voice to his physique. But she could definitely see that he could be her son. Was her son on another life? Elsewhere in the village, Kakashi was standing in front of the monument dedicated to those who had fallen in defense of Konoha. As he always did. He felt the presence of Jiraiya next to his and put his book away. Sigh. Do I have a mission? Jiraiya nodded and began to explain everything. Next day, Naruto had been dismissed from the hospital with an order to take it easy. The chakra restraints had been removed and his healing rate began to accelerate. The sixth tomoe returned, showing his eyebrows was accessible to him once again. The woman that embodied his mother in this timeline at his side, the two were standing in front of the Hokage. Remember Makoto. You had Naruto when you were 18. Naruto, you have been away with Jiraiya since birth. Training. If anyone asks you how did you get to that level of the Manjikyu, tell them you developed it naturally. Hiruzen went over. Makoto looked at Sarutobi Hokage-sama. Since Naruto is technically an adult, couldn't he claim Hitomi-chan custody? Sarutobi looked at the Uchiha matriarch and nodded yes, I'm already working on it. Most likely after team placement will you be able to fully take her in. I know she would like to have some family. Naruto stayed silent, he doubted he was fit to take care of another person. He sighed, his own fault. Naruto, I want you to come to semi-regular sessions with Inoichi. I'll add you to the roster, but I want to guarantee you're not dealing with these issues on your own. Naruto nodded. Hiruzen then turned to Kakashi, he will help you around if you decide to pass the team I assigned you. If they fail then he will be your partner until he's cleared to work on his own. Understood. Kakashi nodded, silently watching this Naruto person. From what Jiraiya told him, this kid was a dimensional traveler that his sensei's daughter managed to pull out from another dimension. The boy shared his pain. He was also supposed to be the son of his sensei and Makoto Uchiha, although as unlikely as it sounded the DNA match spoke for itself. But he would keep an eye on him, no one got as powerful as Naruto without having some type of quirk. Makoto smiled, she took Naruto's arm and left the Hokage Tower. Once they were outside the Hokage Tower, Makoto slowed down a bit. Sighed, looking at Naruto, she said, somehow I have to introduce you to my son Sasuke. And he won't take the news that I slept with another man that wasn't an Uchiha. Hey, what a mess. Naruto sighed, I'm sorry if my presence is causing problems. I'd never imagined this would happen. Nor wanted it to. He told her. Makoto let go of Naruto and clarified, I'm not unhappy. After all, in some world I am your mother. It would just take getting used to. Besides, there's the fact you're a grown man, war veteran and powerful. But my son isn't the easiest to deal with, he has been obsessed with killing Itachi since that happened. And he wouldn't like it if some person claiming to be an Uchiha wielding the Sharingan that is supposed to be his oldest brother suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Then there's the fact that Sasuke idolized my husband. And your son of the fourth. He would view you as a bastard or a threat to his position of clan heir. Naruto nodded. Well. To the last one I will never drop my father's name. That's the only connection I have left to him. And I don't care about clan status. And if he has a problem, well, we will deal with it when we get there. Makoto accepted and the two made their way to the Uchiha compound. Hello everyone, I'm sorry if the previous chapter had many grammar mistakes and the spacing was bad. I am using Google Docs, which is really good at catching these things, but as soon as I transfer over the document manager here at FanFiction up, everything turns to shit. It wasn't till I reviewed the story from a web tab that I realized how bad it was, and am letting you all know that yes, I will be taking time to fix this. Kudos. Chapter 4. A brother's job is to protect his family. Sasuke Uchiha had just returned from training. As he approached the house he shared with his mother, he felt a shift in the air. He slowed down a bit. When he made it home he saw his mother as she always did at this time of day. But when she greeted him, she had a serious face instead of the usual smile. Sasuke. There's something we must discuss. Take a seat. Sasuke nodded and sat down in the chair in front of her. Sasuke, what I'm about to tell you is very serious. So I want you to remain as calm as possible. Sasuke looked at his mother. What's going on, mom? What happened? Mikoto sighed. Sasuke, you know that before I married your father and settled down I was on a genin team with the 4th Hokage. Sasuke nodded, he had seen the pictures. Sasuke, Minato and I had a little bit of a wild night when I became 18 and just become a jonin. I became pregnant with my first child. What? Sasuke blew up. Mikoto raised her hands in defense. Sasuke. I was young at the time. Well, we had a child. And he was given to Jiraiya-sensei to hide away. Although Minato hadn't earned his reputation yet. The war was well underway. Hell, not a year later did Konoha and Fire Country sign the official declaration of war. She stopped observing Sasuke. He was a whirlwind of emotions. Mikoto continued, we named him Naruto after the first book Sensei wrote. Although Naruto has been away since then. He didn't have contact with us until recently. Sasuke was pissed. His mother had another child that he didn't know about. What did father think? Mikoto sighed. Just like his father Fugaku didn't know. Sasuke, I'm telling you because Naruto is back in the village. And I met him. He is incredibly strong. Stronger than Itachi. Sarutobi-sama put him on par with Madara Uchiha. Naruto is not someone who grew up in a nice environment. He grew up in War Sachi. I'm telling you because I don't want you to fight him. Even if you don't like him. Try getting along with him for my sake. She pleaded. Sasuke sighed, I will try. For my mother at least. Sasuke asked Mikoto what does he think of Itachi. Mikoto bit her lip. Why don't you ask him? He'll get him for you know. Sasuke-chan in acknowledgement. Mikoto stood up and went into the hallway. A few seconds later she came back with an older teenager. Sasuke analyzed him. His hair and eye shape were that of the Uchiha. But the two different eyes unsettled him. One was the familiar black he had seen on his mother's eye. The other was purple with 3 concentric rings around a dot that marked the center of the eye. In the first 2 rings he could make out 3 tomoe in each level, much like a matured Sharingan. He wore a loose black shirt and black slacks. The shape of the face he could tell looked like the 4th Hokage face. Same nose and ears. Sasuke, this is Naruto Namikaze. Naruto, this is Sasuke, my youngest. Naruto tipped his head slightly. I will go prepare some dinner for us. Mikoto stood up and left to prepare dinner, leaving the 2 boys. Sasuke looked at Naruto. What is that weird eye? You have some sort of transplant. Naruto shook his head. That's a version of the rinnegan. I awakened it because my father had Senju in his blood. If you know the history between the Senju and the Uchiha besides the clan wars, then I'm sure you know we share a common ancestor. Sasuke nodded. He had heard that the Senju and Uchiha both claimed to be descendants of the sage. Where were you all this time? Sasuke asked. I can't say. But all I can tell you, it was a land ravaged by constant warfare. Naruto responded. Sasuke asked, what do you think about Itachi? Naruto was silent. He couldn't tell Sasuke the truth. He would have a measured response that would hopefully placate Sasuke. And hopefully, if what Mikoto told him was true, steer him into a more positive road. Sasuke. What do you know of the Sharingan? Besides what it does. Sasuke looked at him oddly. I know that it has 3 stages. 4 if you count the Manjikyu. It is activated in life or death situations. That's about it. Naruto sighed. He activated his base Sharingan, looking at Sasuke. Have you read the 2nd Hokage's journal on the Sharingan? Sasuke shook his head. Naruto kneeled in front of the teen Sasuke. The Sharingan, it's an Uchiha's manifestation of his or her pain. Well, it's true you can awaken the Sharingan in life or death situations. The Sharingan is awakened mostly by a feeling that connotes loss, grief and desperation. I can see you already have manifested the Sharingan. The scar that your brother left you runs deep, doesn't it? Sasuke was shocked. How can I have my Sharingan? Naruto looked at Sasuke. Can you channel chakra through your eyes? Sasuke shook his head. I never done it. Naruto just looked at him. Try it now. And so Sasuke closed his eyes. Reaching into himself, Sasuke reached his chakra and grabbed it, before opening his eyes and looking at Naruto, who had blue lines running around him. Whoa, Naruto tapped his shoulders. Take it easy, you're pushing way more chakra than what you actually need. Turn it off before you get exhausted. Sasuke complied. What about the Manjikyu? Is what Itachi said is true? Do you really need to kill your best friend to get it? Naruto looked at Sasuke oddly. The hell is Itachi telling this kid? No wonder Sasuke is fucked up. Naruto looked at Sasuke. No, the Manjikyu Sharingan. It is not another stage to unlock. The Manjikyu Sharingan manifests when an Uchiha feels deep grief or regret. Look at me. Naruto said. Pushing more chakra into his eyes, his Sharingan spun, gaining more and more speed before becoming the Manjikyu. His Manjikyu manifested in a 3-propeller blade type, with spikes coming out of each blade. My Manjikyu Sharingan manifested when I found out someone I deeply cared about sacrificed their lives so others could live theirs. I never killed anyone I ever cared about. In fact, I tried to go the extra mile to protect them. He smiled sadly. However, Sasuke. A warning. The Uchiha, despite their power, our eyes are cursed. When an Uchiha loves, he loves more than the average person. But when that love becomes hate, And happiness becomes anger. The Sharingan gives us an illusion of power, causing us to drown ourselves even deeper into our hate. Don't become what Itachi is. Look at how Madara ended up. He had the Kyuubi, an advanced stage of the Sharingan more powerful than the Manjikyu. And his own prowess. He fell victim to the curse of hatred, and even still, Hashirama slapped him around silly during their final battle. Sasuke was looking at him with wide eyes. Naruto smiled at him. I'll help you become strong. But promise me you won't let the hatred consume you. Don't make the mistake that Uchiha before us have made. Sasuke nodded speechless. No one had told him this side of the Uchiha. He was rethinking some of the choices he made. How can I overcome the curse when so many before us have fallen? How did you overcome it? Naruto stood up. You fill yourself with love, Sasuke. Hold on to what you have. Be thankful for every day you still have. Make friends and live life. And the most important, Sasuke were shinobi. Eventually you will lose people you care about. Mourn them. Honor their memory. But also let go. They will be waiting for us. My best friend once told me, do not pity the dead. Pity the living. That is how you overcome the curse. Naruto turned on his heel towards the kitchen. 3 days later, Hitomi was sitting in the classroom. She was happy. Finally her career as a shinobi would start today. She was one step closer to becoming Hokage. Soon Sasuke walked into the classroom while Hitomi adored her godmother, not that she knew that, Mikoto. The bastard was a pain in the ass to deal with. He took a seat next to her, which surprised her bastard. She greeted. Sasuke looked at her. Dope. You know this is for graduates, right? Hitomi developed a tick mark on her forehead. I have you know that Mizuki team attempted to fudge my grades, so I got a retake. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Why would an academy teacher attempt to make the dead last fail, he thought to himself. Iruka walked in. Everyone settled down. Alright everyone. Today marks your first day as a shinobi of Konoha. But don't celebrate yet. Being a shinobi is not easy. Being a shinobi is being a soldier. And we are the strength of the village. Some of you will fall. Some of you will go on to become legends. And who knows, one of you may even become the next Hokage. Iruka finished up giving his speech. After a bit of chatter, Iruka cleared his throat. Alright kids, time for team assignment. He began listing teams. Hitomi tuned him out for most teams. Team 7. Uchiha Sasuke. Checked off Iruka. Sasuke perked up. Ino Sakura. Sakura cheered off as other girls groaned in disappointment. Sha. Take that, Ino pig. True love wins. And Uzumaki Hitomi. Hitomi slammed her head against the desk. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. So they're going with the classic Team 7. Naruto looked at the memorial stone in front of him. Kakashi looked at the stone. Humbles you to think so many people we cared about ended up in this rock, huh? Said Naruto. Kakashi nodded. What's your biggest regret? Asked Kakashi. Naruto looked at the white-haired man next to him. Not spending my last few years with my family. Forcing my girlfriend into a battle that had she not had backup for she would not have survived. The fact I almost left a baby girl orphaned. With her own burden because her daddy was scared. Naruto looked back at the stone. What's yours? Kakashi put the book he was reading away. Not spending time with my father. Or my teammates. Breaking the promise I made Obito. Naruto looked at the watch. 2 hours. Think we're sufficiently late. Kakashi gave him an eye smile. We're going to have a wonderful friendship. Academy. Room 279. Sasuke was bored. Hitomi was bored. Sakura was bored. Hitomi stood up from her chair, took the chalk eraser from Iruka's desk. Using a chair as a stepping board. She balanced the eraser between the door and the door frame, moving the chair away and sitting back down. A few minutes later, a man with gravity-defying silver hair stepped through the door and the eraser hit him spot on. Hitomi burst out laughing. Sakura attempted to make excuses and Sasuke hid a smirk behind his hands. Kakashi looked at the trio in front of him. You're all boring. Meet me in the roof, 5 minutes. And disappeared into a poof of smoke. On the roof, Kakashi and Naruto were talking when Kakashi received a memory from the shadow clone. 5 minutes later, the 3 kids burst through the door. Kakashi looks at his watch just in time. Take a seat. Naruto looked at Sasuke, a pink-haired girl who he assumed was Sakura. And Hitomi Uzumaki, who he identified through her whisker marks. Blonde hair that fell to her middle back. And a hideous orange jumpsuit. Whoever gave her that is a dead man. Kakashi clapped his hands. Alright. My name is Kakashi Haddock. I am your Jonin sensei. Next to me is Naruto Namikaze. He will be assisting me in teaching you. Why don't you introduce yourself? Sakura raised her hand. Kakashi sensei, what do you mean? Naruto almost face-palmed. Kakashi almost face-palmed. Hitomi did facepalm. Sasuke shook his face. Naruto spoke up. You know your name, likes, dislikes, hopes and dreams. Sakura looked at him. Why don't you go first, sensei? Naruto looked at Kakashi. Kakashi sighed in annoyance and started. My name is Kakashi Haddock. I have likes, dislikes as well. My dreams. Well, I don't really have any at the moment. He passed the torch back to Naruto. Oh, I'm going to prank you so hard, Kakashi. Just you wait, Naruto told himself. Well. My name is Naruto Namikaze. I like eating ramen every once in a while. Learning or developing new techniques as well as pushing myself to new heights. I dislike war and Kumo Shinobi. And my dreams, I guess, is having my own family. Sakura again raised her hand. Are you related to the fourth Hokage? Naruto answered yes. This time Hitomi asked, but wasn't the fourth Hokage single? If he had a son we would have known. She said. A tad resentful thinking of the burden the fourth placed in her. Naruto looked at her. I was born outside of wedlock. Besides, my identity was hidden for my safety. Naruto clarified. Who was your mother? Sakura asked. Naruto looked at Sasuke. My mother was in Uchiha, that's all you need to know. Naruto replied, ending the subject. Kakashi looked at Sakura. Well, since you feel chatty, why don't tell us about yourself, Pinky? Sakura blushed. Well, my name is Sakura Haruno. My likes are. She looks at Sasuke and squeals, so this is a fangirl. Naruto thought to himself. My dreams are. Again she looks at Sasuke and squeals even louder. And your dislikes? Asked Kakashi. Hitomi and Ino. Sakura screams. Naruto thought to himself, this girl will either drop out or get us all killed. Kakashi was running along the same train of thought. Girls today are more interested in guys than jutsu. Kakashi pointed Sasuke. How about you, Sunshine? Sasuke brought his hands interlocked. In front of his mouth. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I few likes and too many dislikes to count. My dreams. I will bring a man to justice. Kakashi narrowed his eyes. Itachi. Naruto was thinking something else entirely. He is getting better. At least he didn't say kill. Kakashi nodded and pointed at Hitomi and lastly the hyperactive blonde. Hitomi raised her hand. Hitomi Uzumaki. I like ramen. Tasting different types of ramen. Oh, I like the ramen Iruka-sensei buys more, even more. I enjoy spending time with Makoto-chan. I dislike those who look down upon others for no reason and bullies. And my dream is to become Hokage. So people will stop disrespecting me and treat me like I'm somebody. Somebody important. This was Naruto's moment to narrow his eyes. This is my little sister. Ramen addict, attention starved. At least she had Makoto. I promise both of you, Sasuke. Hitomi, I'll make you into the best you two can be. I promise to protect you both. Even if you hate me for it. I will not fail this time. Kakashi was in thought. Hitomi is possibly the most normal. But she will need the most work if the academy reports are to be believed. I will have to rotate Naruto and myself to take turns to work with her. Sakura is in need of a reality check. And unless she herself realizes the dangers of the shinobi lifestyle, there isn't much we can do to help her. Sasuke is the best shape so far. But his obsession with Itachi could make him a potential danger to himself and others. He looked at Naruto, who was looking between Sasuke and Hitomi. He will be an important part of this team. He clapped his hands. One more thing. You're not genin just yet. There is one more test you must make if you want to become official shinobi. Sakura screeched. What do you mean another test? Why did we take the graduation exam in the first place? Kakashi I smiled. Oh, that is to filter the hopeless from those with a chance to become a shinobi. Be at training field 3. 5 AM. Don't be late. And don't eat breakfast. Or you will puke. He disappeared, leaving on swirling leaves where he once stood. Naruto stood from his spot in the veranda. Hitomi, Sasuke, you two are coming with me. Putting a hand on each of their shoulders, he activated Kamui and teleported away. A second later he appeared back at the Uchiha compound. Hitomi and Sasuke looked at him. What was that? Hitomi asked with stars in her eyes. Kamui. An ability I got from my Sharingan, stated Naruto. Makoto was sitting reading a book on the porch. She saw Naruto appear out of nowhere. With Hitomi and Sasuke. Sasuke-kun, Hitomi-chan. Thank you for bringing them, Naruto. Naruto nodded. Sasuke was confused though. What's going on, mom? Asked Sasuke, following his mother and sensei inside. Sitting at the table, Makoto commanded the two. Sasuke, Hitomi. The reason why you're here is because Hitomi will be living with us from now on. Both Hitomi and Sasuke exploded. What? Naruto took a sip from a water bottle he carried on him. Sasuke. As you know. My father and our mother had a very brief relationship that resulted in my birth. But what people don't know is that the fourth Hokage too married. During the final days for the third ninja war, when he had just become Hokage. He married Kushina Uzumaki. An S-class shinobi on her own right who, from what I'm told, had a bone to pick with Kumo shinobi. And sent squads packing. Hitomi couldn't control her excitement. Yeah. Take that bastard. I'm the daughter of two baddest shinobi. Naruto looked at Hitomi. Hitomi. I need you to promise me to never let that information leave this room. He said, looking at her straight in the eye. What? Why? Naruto sighed again. For the millionth time that day. Hitomi-chan. Dad had a lot of enemies. During the Kusakager campaign, which saw the Battle of Konoha Bridge and the destruction of the bridge itself. Dad killed a lot of people. Many of them mothers and fathers, sons and daughters. Iwa hates the fourth and would do anything to hurt his next of kin. Hitomi looked down disappointed in herself. She wasn't stupid despite the mask that she wore. She understood the consequences of the fourth's action. Can I at least talk about my mom? Mikoto looked at Hitomi with sympathy. Hitomi-chan. Your mother too had many enemies. Once Kumo attempted to kidnap her. They would have succeeded had it not been thanks to Minato. They would try again with you. Naruto nodded. Brighten up Hitomi-chan. You got a legacy behind you. Dad was the grandson of Toka Senju. Youngest sister of Hasamara. And Tabarama. You're the daughter of the fourth. The blood of the Hokage flows strong with you. And you have me trained by Jiraiya-sensei. Who studied under the third and taught Dad. Hitomi brightened considerably. Before looking downcast again. Hey brother. Can I talk to you in private? Naruto took another sip of water. You're wondering why Dad chose you to seal the Kyuubi and no. He told her. She stood up and pointed a finger at him. Naruto raised his hand. I know about the Kyuubi. You're not the first Jinchuriki, not even for the Kyuubi. Hitomi's hand began to shake. Hitomi. When Hashimara-sama fought Madara. Madara had the Kyuubi at his side. His wife Mito Uzumaki sealed the Kyuubi into herself when the first Hokage broke the control that Madara had on the Kyuubi through his Sharingan. From Mito-sama the Kyuubi was sealed into Kushina when Mito became too old. I don't know what happened that. But my guess is that Kushina was attacked during childbirth. And Kushina was a strong shinobi. Her special chakra chains could hold onto a Biju. So something must have happened. But whatever happened resulted in you being the third Jinchuriki for the Nine Tails. Hitomi dropped to her knees. I'm just a weapon. Naruto moved to hug the girl. Hitomi, all shinobi are weapons to be used by their Kage. Or that's how it is supposed to be. However, no Kage would last long in power with this mentality. The Hokage truly cares for all his subjects under his command. But some sacrifices must be done to protect the village. Unfortunately you were the sacrifice that saved the village. If I had been there I would have convinced Dad to let me take the burden. Don't doubt that you are cared for. Hitomi sniffed and nodded. Although neither you and Sasuke are related, you two are my siblings. And it is the job of the older brother to take care of his little brother and sister. Hitomi hugged Naruto. Sasuke looked at him with his Sharingan unknowingly active. Mikoto smiled too. If only Itachi, Minato and Kushina were there to complete the picture. Now the two of you eat as much as you can now. Remember what Kakashi said about tomorrow. Mikoto returned to the kitchen to finish serving dinner. Chapter 5. Genin exams and wave missions. Next day. 8 a.m. 3 hungry genin waited around for their two sensei to arrive. Kakashi and Naruto turned up at the same time. Sorry I'm late. I had to save a cat that was stuck in a tree for an old lady. On cue Naruto picked up. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late too. A lady was walking a black cat so I had to take the long way around. Sakura jumped and pointed an accusatory finger at them. Liar Sasuke and Hitomi were too annoyed. Both had large tick marks on their foreheads, eyebrows twitching. Kakashi pulled an alarm out of his pocket. This is set to noon. Your task is to get these bells. He said holding 2 silver bells. Sakura asked Sensei there's only 2 bells. Kakashi chuckled and I smiled. Good, you're catching on. Whoever doesn't get a bell will be tied to a post. And watch as their teammate eats their lunch in front of them. And that person will return to the academy. If none of you get a bell by noon you will be sent back to the academy. The 3 genin were caught off guard. I can't fail now. I've gotten this far to simply fail, thought Hitomi. Sasuke was thinking the same. Sakura, whoever was on a different cloud. Cha. I can get a bell for me and Sasuke-kun, then we will be on a team alone. Naruto watched all of them. Sasuke and Hitomi. I hope you catch the meaning of this test. Kakashi raised a hand. Go, he shouted, dropping his hand. The 3 students dispersed. Naruto activated his Manjikyu and became ethereal to make sure that he wasn't interfering with the test. The first lesson of shinobi is camouflage and concealment. They got that down. Kakashi thought. Let's see. Sasuke is 34 yards northwest. Sakura is hiding on a bush. 15 yards away. Hitomi, she's using the shadow clone jutsu. Setting traps perhaps. Indeed she was. She focused her violet orbs into an immobilizing trap. She had made a few shadow clones to set traps around. Kuzo. There has to be some hidden meaning to this test. It doesn't make sense, why separate us into squads if one of us is to fail? 20 yards to the east. Sasuke's mind was running through the same thoughts. He decided to take a shot at his sensei first. Throwing some kunai the direction Kakashi was standing before jumping down and running at the masked man. He jumped and went for a spinning kick which Kakashi blocked. He twisted and tried to punch his sensei in the stomach. Kakashi caught the punch and threw him across the clearing. Sasuke ran at his sensei again and dropped for a spinning kick that Kakashi evaded. Using the momentum from the spinning kick he threw a roundhouse kick to the ribs of his Jounin sensei. Kakashi told himself lesson 1 to jutsu. He stayed on the defensive as Sasuke attempted to land a hit or take a swipe at the bells. Ugh, Sasuke cries in frustration. He disengaged Kakashi and hops back 5 paces before running throw hand signs fire style. Fireball jutsu, he said, bringing the tiger seal to his mouth and unleashing a red-hot fireball. Letting go of the jutsu. He looked to see a burnt log where Kakashi once stood. Damn. Replacement. He whispered to himself. Before feeling a presence behind him. You know, Sasuke-chan. That wasn't very no, was it? Sasuke looked back where his sensei crouched. Holding a tiger sign that was quickly approaching him. He heard Kakashi yell Konoha secret jutsu. 1000 years of pain. Sasuke prepared for the worst when he felt it. Ewa. Sasuke yelled as he flew across the clearing only to splash in the water. Naruto, still in his spectral form, raised an eyebrow. Kakashi. Did you just give Sasuke a chakra-powered finger poke where the sun don't shine? He asked. Kakashi looked at him. It worked, didn't it? Naruto fell over and burst out laughing. Kakashi waved. I have other students to test. And flickered away. Hitomi saw what her sensei did to Sasuke and gulped. Damn. Can't take him on my own. She saw her sensei stand in a tree nearby. Making a shadow clone go to Sasuke and tell the team that we have to work together to formulate some sort of plan. She shadow clone nodded and ran away. She took a deep breath and attacked her sensei. She opened up by sending 6 shadow clones ahead of her. Which did absolutely nothing but confirm her theory. She watched as they were dispelled. Kakashi looked straight ahead. You want to try where Sasuke failed? He taunted. She gulped and brought her hands on a cross sign. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. She called out. Kakashi narrowed his eyes. She has this much chakra, you know, Hitomi-chan, that may have worked on Mizuki. But it won't work on me. Kakashi continued to taunt. She launched all her shadow clones at her sensei before making a hasty retreat to finding her teammate. She found Sasuke still talking to the clone. Sasuke. There's no way we can take on Kakashi on our own. The clone stated. You think I don't know that? Sasuke yelled. Hitomi cancelled the clone. When the Hitomi in front of Sasuke disappeared in a puff of smoke. Sasuke saw the real Hitomi approaching him. We gotta find Sakura. As much as it pains me to say it. It's gonna take the 3 of us to defeat Kakashi, stated Hitomi. Sasuke nodded. They would deal with the bells. A scream was heard through the forest. Instantly Hitomi and Sasuke knew where Sakura stood. On the other side of the training ground. Same time. You know, I think you're starting to enjoy torturing the kids. Said Naruto. Kakashi shrugged and the file stated she was good with ninjutsu. If she can't even recognize a D-rank ninjutsu, then she's not fit to be a kunoichi. Naruto nodded grimly, understanding what he meant. I'll talk to her if they pass. I won't have another coffin on my conscience. Maybe she would do better as a medic nin. Naruto told Kakashi. Kakashi sighed to himself. If they pass. To his surprise, he had to substitute out of the way as a hail of shuriken. Made towards his position. Naruto, powering up his Kamui again, becoming intangible, watched as what he recognized 2 shadow clones. One hinged to look as Sasuke engaged Kakashi as the real Hitomi, and Sasuke collected Sakura and jumped away. They may just make it, he thought to himself. 30 minutes later, Kakashi stood. 45 minutes had passed since the start of the test and things were starting to look up. He looked up from his book as Hitomi showed up with an army of shadow clones at her back. You disappoint me, Hitomi-chan. I told you that wouldn't work. Hitomi humped as she charged Kakashi with her shadow clones. As Kakashi popped shadow clones out of existence, Sasuke jumped from his position and used the fireball jutsu aimed at Kakashi's back. Jumping back, Hitomi watched as Sakura launched kunai at shuriken at where Kakashi was supposed to be. Kakashi smiled. So they caught on HM. He engaged them on and off until the bell rang. Kakashi looked at the 3 students lay panting in the ground as the bell rang. Sasuke gritted his teeth. Damn. We couldn't get a bell, he said as the 3 genin were sitting around a tree. Each one sporting their own set of cuts and bruises. Sakura being the best of. Kakashi stood watching them. Well. None of you got a bell. You know what that means, don't you? Hitomi looked at Kakashi. At least we tried our best. Even working together we couldn't get a damn bell from you. Kakashi, I smile. You all pass. Kakashi told them as Naruto appeared next to Kakashi. What? Yelled the 3 genin. Naruto himself chuckled a little before becoming serious and speaking to them. This test served a purpose. We have to see if you could work together. Many shinobi have fallen because they didn't work together with their teammates. The 3 genin nodded. Naruto looked at Kakashi. Go ahead. I'll take them there. He made a shadow clone and together they took the children to where the memorial stone stood. Sit. The 3 genin sat down. Do you know what this is? Asked Kakashi. The 3 genin shook their heads. Naruto put his hand in the monument. This rock you see here is a monument to all the heroes of this village. Each name here fell defending the village. All of them heroes. Naruto stated. The 3 kids were Summer. Why are you showing us this? Asked Hitomi. Naruto looked at Kakashi. You 3 aren't the first Team 7. In fact, there's kind of a petition going around to discontinue the moniker. Team 7 is a legendary team chosen only once every generation. The teams began with the first Hokage when he took on his students. Lord Third being one of them. Then the third Hokage took on his own Team 7. We know them as the legendary Sannin. Jiraiya-sama continued the torch taking a Team 7 of his own. Mikoto Uchiha. Kakashi began. Sasuke looked up Minato Namikaze. Hitomi perked up. And Hiashi Hyuga. Then before you. Minato-sensei took on his own Team 7. Uchiha Obito. Rin Nahara and Kakashi Haddock. Hitomi jumped up. You're the student of the fourth. She said shouting. Kakashi motioned her to calm down. I'm telling you this because Team 7 also has an equally sad story. The first Team 7 experienced the loss of their sensei, so they merged with Tobirama-sama's own team. Before he too would sacrifice his life so his students could escape. Naming Hiruzen Sarutobi the third Hokage. The Team 7 that Hokage-sama followed too suffered its losses. Although none of them died. Tsunade-sama lost her entire family to the war. Orochimaru as you know defected the village. Only Jiraiya-sama remains in service. Jiraiya's Team 7. He lost his favorite student. Makoto lost her family. And Hiashi lost his brother to the deception of Kumo Shinobi. My own team. I'm the only remaining survivor. My teammate Obito died at Kanabi Bridge. He pushed me out of the way from collapsing cave taking a rock that was meant for me. Rin Naraha had chosen to kill herself when Kiri kidnapped and sealed the three-tailed turtle into her with a timed seal in an attempt to destroy Konoha. Minato-sensei sacrificed his life in defeating the Kyuubi. Sakura wide eyes asked Kakashi, why are you telling us this? Naruto tapped Kakashi's shoulder and stepped forwards and stared because you have to understand being a shinobi is not glamorous. It is a lifestyle that we live by filled with death and deception. Being a member of a legendary team you will be expected to follow higher standards. Our training will be hell on earth. If you're on a diet. Stop that shit now. You will need the extra calories from big meals. Using chakra cost more calories than you can afford to waste. If you think you're in this to look cute to impress a boy, you'll be too tired to think about that. We live in a world where the people you can trust is super limited. Your best friend today could put a knife through you tomorrow. We might be at peace now, but maybe next week you could be marching into the deserts of Suna or climbing the mountains of Kumo on an invasion. Or maybe we could be at the receiving end of an invasion. I won't be there to protect you all the time. Kakashi won't be there to protect you all the time. So we will put you through the ringer. Naruto turned to Kakashi. You go report to the Hokage. I'll be doing some preliminary training with them. I'll get them started on chakra control and Taijutsu. Kakashi nodded and disappeared in a swirl of leaves. Naruto looked at the team in front of him. Back to training ground 3. You have 15 minutes go. The 3 genin scrambled to their feet and ran to their destination. Naruto chuckled. This is going to be fun. Hokage Tower. Hiruzen was waiting for the Jonin senseis to finish assembling when Kakashi poofed into the office. The Hokage cleared his throat. After 5 team failures everyone looked expectantly at Kakashi who was reading Little Orange Book. The Hokage cleared his throat. Well Kakashi. How was Team 7? Kakashi looked up from his book and I smiled. They passed said Kakashi. Almost everyone in the room threw their hands up and groaned. Even if this ninja could be heard. The Hokage barked report. Kakashi put his book away. Sakura is the weak link of the group. The academy report said she was good with Genjutsu, yet she fell for the hell viewing technique. From besides him Kurenai, a young joining in a dress made mostly of bandages, looked at him. You serious? That's like one of the easiest Genjutsu to detect. Kakashi sighed. Well she fell for the Genjutsu. She does have good aim and as Naruto pointed out with enough training, she could be a good support medic nin. She is more than smart enough but she needs to get her priorities straight. Naruto also suggested intense chakra increasing regiment. Everyone but Sarutobi looked at Kakashi. Who is Naruto? Asked Asuma. Sarutobi. Son of the Hokage. Hiruzen said that's a new Konoha Jonin. Jiraiya was tasked with raising away from the village. Talking about Naruto. Where is he? Kakashi. Kakashi looked at the Hokage. I mean training Team 7 with chakra control and going over there to Jutsu. Hokage-sama. The Hokage nodded. Hiruzen looked at Kakashi and asked how are the other 2? Kakashi put his book away. Sasuke is good no doubt. From what I know he has an active Sharingan but doesn't seem to rely on it. Naruto told me that Sasuke doesn't have enough chakra control to actively maintain the Sharingan for prolonged periods, much less use it in combat. His Taijutsu is solid chunin. He already has some training with fire style as he can cast the fireball jutsu up to 7 times. He is a little weak on the Genjutsu area. But can recognize and dispel one. Hitomi has good Taijutsu and can use it to great effect with her shadow clones. Her immense chakra reserves allow her to make thousands at once. The room around him erupts with gasps. Her Genjutsu abilities are non-existent, but low-level Genjutsu don't affect her. But me and Naruto are planning to work with her chakra control, Taijutsu, and fill in whatever she missed at the academy through the shadow clone method. Hiruzen looked sternly at Kakashi. Careful Kakashi. Kakashi nodded. Me and Naruto agreed no more than 10 at a time. The Hokage, now satisfied, turned to Kurenai report. He made compost of Kibashino and Hinata. 3 weeks later, Team 7 had fallen into a routine. Monday through Thursday they would spend the day training. Fridays would be spent the morning doing D rank missions and the afternoon training. Saturday would be dedicated to D ranks, and Sunday would be a personal day. Naruto and Kakashi would take turns between Hitomi, Sasuke and Sakura. Naruto had indeed spoken to Sakura, and using the Sharingan ability to cast ninjutsu, he showed her what her stupidity could cost them. She had improved since then. Being the one with the lowest levels of chakra and stamina, she was able to double them in the 3 weeks of chakra-intensive regime to bring her up to par with higher-level genin and low-level chunin. Hitomi improved as well. Using 4 shadow clones to go over theoretical knowledge and using a pop and go method to help her work on her chakra control through popping the shadow clone that had made the most improvement to shorten the amount of time she spent on each exercise. Naruto had her do the tree climbing, which took her the longest, about 5 days, and moving on to the water walking. Before making her do the water walking while also doing the more chakra precise leaf balancing and spinning exercises. Sasuke made the most improvement, also using the 3 climbing and water walking exercises. All 3 of them had done them. Naruto taught him how to better control the chakra consumption of his Sharingan and how to split his chakra into the Sharingan, water tree walking exercises, while also casting jutsu. One would think that these things that help save up every bit of chakra would be obvious, but you'd be surprised how many Uchiha didn't take their chakra control to this level. Anyway. He also had started Sasuke on fire nature transformation, so Sasuke could handle his jutsu better. Kakashi worked Sakura and Hitomi on their taijutsu, teaching Sakura the more advanced leaf style taijutsu, and teaching Hitomi the raging river taijutsu. He taught Sakura some basic perception altering genjutsu, and taught Hitomi the kunai and shuriken variants of the shadow clone jutsu, while teaching Sasuke some Sharingan genjutsu that consumed minimal chakra. All in all, Team 7 was doing good. On a personal level, Sakura had opened up to her female teammate, while Sasuke began to socialize more and spend more time with the team. Now 3 weeks after graduation, Kakashi and Naruto had decided to take them on a C-ranked mission. Hokage Tower. Team 7 stood up in front of the Hokage while Hiruzen looked at them neutrally. A C-rank A. Well, I just so happen to have an escort mission. Should be simple. The client only expects to be attacked by bandits. You will escort him home until he completes his bridge. Mission time should be 2 weeks. Naruto accepted the mission while Kakashi addressed his team pack for 3 weeks. On the road. Be at the eastern gate in 90 minutes. 90 minutes later, Kakashi and the client were waiting at the gate. Sasuke and Hitomi arrived together. Sakura arrived 2 minutes later. Azuna, bridge builders from Wave Country and the escort Team 7 was assigned to, looks at the 3 children. What's this I paid for shinobi, not snot-nosed brat? Complained Azuna. Kakashi was about to calm down the client when a voice stated, these ninja in front of you are some of the most talented shinobi to come out of the academy, Azuna-san. Besides, this is just a low-risk mission, we don't have other shinobi to worry about. Am I right, Azuna-san? Everyone looked as Naruto materialized. Why yes, just bandits, stuttered out Azuna. Kakashi put a hand on the client. Besides, me and Naruto here are highly qualified jonin. 3 hours later. Azuna-san. You said you're from Wave, right? Asked Sakura. Yes, why? Sakura looked at Kakashi-sensei. Aren't there shinobi in Wave? Kakashi shook his head. No, Sakura. Wave is too small to have a shinobi village. Plus they don't need it. They get natural protection from the sea around them. Sakura tilted her head to the side, but there are other shinobi villages out there, right, sensei? Kakashi nods. Yes, there are the 5 great nations to start of. They contain hidden villages. As you know, the hidden villages are the shinobi nations. While there are smaller ones out there, only these 5 nations leaders are permitted the title of Kage or Shadow. There's our very own Lord Hokage, then Wind Country has the village hidden in the sand, which has the Kazekage. Water Country has the village hidden in the mist, which is ruled by the Mizukage. There's also Lightning Country, whose hidden village is named the Hidden Cloud Village, ruled by the Reikage, and lastly there's Earth Country, which houses the Hidden Rock Village, which is ruled by the Tsuchikage. Sakura asked Kakashi, is Lord Hokage really that important? Naruto nodded. The hidden villages are completely independent of any government. In fact, it is the nation's government that relies on its hidden village. Well, the daimyo generally have armies of samurai. Shinobi combat, while much more violent, is also much more effective. A skilled genin can take on 10 samurai on his own. Don't get cocky though. A sufficiently skilled samurai could hold his own against a jonin. Naruto said. He took paused and then continued. Shinobi villages are the military might of the nation and keep the balance of power in check. Without this balance, other nations would try to make an attempt, one of the 5. In fact, it was this issue that led directly to the 3rd Great Ninja War. Hitomi looked at him. What do you mean, Naruto-sensei? Naruto stopped for a second. After the Second Shinobi War, the 5 great nations began a period of military disarmament. The smaller nations that had shinobi villages took advantage of this. Although the Third Ninja War began officially on 1997, the conflict had already been going on. For example, my stepmother, your mother Hitomi, was almost kidnapped by the Hidden Cloud in 1985. And the village of the Hidden Whirlpool, if I'm not correct, was destroyed a few years prior. That's the village Kushina was born in. Wave once depended in Hidden Whirlpool if I'm not mistaken. But the smaller nations such as Kusa began to make incursions into Earth Country. Odd Hidden Stone often fought skirmishes with Wind Country. It all boiled over when Rock Shinobi attacked Konoha. Oh. Naruto-sensei. That's why you dislike Kumo? Asked Sakura. Naruto shook his head. No. My problem with Kumo goes much more personal than that. Sasuke raised his hands. Naruto-sensei. You've told us that you've been at war. And you seem to know a lot about the Third Ninja War. Did you fight in it? Naruto somehow managed not to flinch. No. I was alive during the Third Ninja War, that's true. But I wasn't on the elemental nations. He said not this one anyway. Oh. The three genin said in unison. Izuna looked at Naruto. Something was weird about him. Naruto continued to look on the road when he sensed 2 chakra pools ahead of them. He slowed down in pace with Kakashi. 2 chakra pools a couple of minutes ahead of us. Chunin level. Kakashi nodded as Naruto silently made a shadow clone and swap placed with it. Entering his intangible state, he stayed behind and observed. With Hitomi and the group. Hitomi looked at the puddle of water they were coming up ahead and looked back at Sasuke. Catching his eye, he nodded slightly. Kakashi caught the exchange, silently musing to himself, let's see how good they are. Soon they had passed the puddles and 2 figures rose from said puddle. A chain enveloped Kakashi and he was torn to shreds. One, a rough voice said. To another voice called out as Naruto too was ripped to shreds. Sasuke took a knife from his pouch and jumped to action. Hitomi. She froze, her sensei and her brother. She screamed as chains erupted from her back. The chains moved at high speed, stabbing one of the chunin. Sasuke stopped for a second. Only to jump out of the way at the last second as a metal chain almost impaled him. Naruto decided to stop hiding and materialized in front of the shinobi, putting him in a sleep-inducing genjutsu. Kakashi appeared soon after. Naruto turned around and smiled. Sasuke. Good reaction time. Hitomi-chan, he called out to the still frozen girl. She looked at him wide-eyed. What be but I saw. She looked around. Only finding a log. Naruto scratched his head sheepishly. The log is Kakashi's. I used a shadow clone. She launched one of her chains at him. You asshole, she screamed. Before realizing that she had chains coming out of her back. Ah, she screamed. Kakashi patted her head. Ma seems like you unlocked your mother's Kekkei Genkai. Kakashi said. Naruto looked at her. Uzumaki's Kongo Fusa, I've heard stepmother had them. But to actually see them in person. Hitomi looked at Naruto. Before looking back at the chains that waved around like tails. Hey Naruto, how do I use them? Naruto shrugged. I don't have a clue. Hiruzen should have some scrolls left over from your mother. But before they disappear, I want you to do me a favor. Hitomi nodded. Can you analyze your chakra and tell me how they feel? Hitomi sat down and closed her eyes. She was quiet for a couple of minutes. Then she opened one eye. They feel weird. Almost like there's a chakra muscle or chain wheel or something. She said. Naruto nodded for a bit. Can you try to retract them? Just a tad. Imagine as if you were pulling them with your chakra. Naruto told her. Hitomi concentrated for a second before she felt the chains receding. The feeling itself was weird, causing her to lose concentration and causing the chains to dispel. That's okay Hitomi, we can work on them later. He told the girl. Naruto told the girl, patting her head. Sakura was confused. Sensei, what is the Kongo Fusa? She asked. Naruto looked at her. Well, explained later. Before turning to Tazuna, you owe us an explanation. He said. Kakashi appeared out of nowhere. Naruto looked at him. The fuck did you go to? I didn't even notice you were gone. Kakashi shrugged his shoulders. I was trying to interrogate the missing nin. As soon as the one you put to sleep woke up, he bit a cyanide pill he hid in his mouth. Naruto scowled at Kakashi's news. However, I was able to identify them. They are missing nin from Kiri. Known to deal with Momochi's abuser. Naruto nodded in acknowledgement. Kakashi, go deal with Hitomi before first kill shock sets in. I killed too many to remember my first kill. Naruto told Kakashi. Kakashi cringed. He would have to deal with an emotional teenage girl. Naruto looked at him with pity. I know you'll do well. Before going back to interrogate Tazuna. Later that night, Hitomi was still shaken about her first kill, but Kakashi's talk had helped her out. Sasuke, Hitomi, Sakura. Come here, called Naruto. The 3 genin hurried over to where Naruto had called them. What is it, Naruto-sensei? Replied Sakura. Tomorrow we are returning to the village. The client lied. This mission is now a B with the chances to escalate to an A rank. Hitomi stopped shaking and looked at Naruto. Why did the client lie? Naruto sighed. More questions. Turns out Izuna-san is going against a man who has a tyrannical stronghold on Wave. And the only way to free the country is to finish that bridge," explained Naruto. Hitomi looked at him oddly, "Then we can't just leave him to die. Come on Nai-chan, let us finish the mission, we can handle it. You told us yourself we've gotten stronger." Sasuke pleaded, "Sensei, I hate to agree with the dope, but we shouldn't abandon this mission. It is our first true mission outside of Konoha. Plus it would reflect badly on us." Naruto sighed again. They really weren't making it easy. He turned to Sakura. "What do you think, Sakura?" Sakura looked at her two teammates and nodded. "Hi Sensei, I want us to continue the mission." Naruto took a deep breath. "I'll go talk to Kakashi then." Kakashi looked as Naruto approached him. "They want to keep going." Kakashi nodded. "I'll take first watch tonight. You take the second shift." Naruto nodded. "Sasuke can have the third. The girls can have the night off." Kakashi looked at Naruto. "If you met this dimensional version of that Kuretsuchi girl, would you try and win her over?" Naruto looked at the fire Kakashi had prepared. "I shouldn't try. She's not the Kuretsuchi I grew up with, she would probably hate my guts. Plus what I did to my Kuretsuchi and my baby girl. I don't deserve her. Plus she probably hates the yellow flash. And I know for sure Inoki, despite being scared shitless of, hates Madara. Having their blood makes me an instant no. But I'm selfish, and if there's a chance I'll take it." Naruto told. Kakashi nodded. Naruto looked at Kakashi. "Don't stay single for the rest of your life, Kakashi. I know you have your emotional burdens. I do too, but we have to keep going. My own hubris almost cost me my life and a chance at having a family again." Kakashi laughed a little. "I'm the older one. Shouldn't it be me giving you advice?" Naruto chuckled too. "We experience life and make do. After all, knowledge with application is wisdom. My brother Itachi was wiser than I was when he was 4. He said with tears threatening to spill from his eyes, thinking of his younger brother. "War is hell, ain't?" Kakashi asked Naruto. Naruto smiled. "Yeah. One of my comrades once told me, it's a good thing war is so horrible else we fall in love with it." Naruto stood up. "I'm going to bed." Later that night. Dream. Naruto was in his hotel bed cuddling his beautiful lover. The covers covering their undress. They had spent the night making love to one another. "Naruto, if we had kids, what would you name them?" Naruto hugged Kuretsuchi. "More if we had a boy. I guess Hideyoshi. In honor of my baby brother." Kuretsuchi smiled softly. "And if we had a girl?" She asked him. "I don't know, after you maybe." She looked up at him. "I'm serious." Naruto kissed her. "I'm serious too. I don't think you understand the scope of the love I have for you." The two cuddled up for a few more hours. The past 4 weeks had been like this. In 2 weeks he'd have to return to the front lines. His leave was about to expire. But he'd spent it well with his lover. He smiled to himself. "When this war is over, I'll buy her a diamond necklace and show her how much I love her." He thought to himself. Gamakichi. One of his summons appeared on the nightstand. "Hey Naruto, got some candy?" Gamakichi asked. Naruto shook his head. "I'm sorry Gamakichi. I'll summon you when I have some." Gamakichi nodded. "Anyways Naruto, Jiraiya wanted me to come get you. Something happened to Itachi." Naruto's heart stopped. Letting go of Kuretsuchi using the sheets as covers, he sat up. "Kichi, what happened to Itachi?" Naruto asked. His voice was trembling. Gamakichi shook his head. "I'm sorry Naruto, but it's best you find out in person." The toad said and poofed away. Naruto hurried up and got dressed. He kissed Kuretsuchi. "I'm sorry." She nodded and using Kamui teleported to the outpost his brother had been stationed on. Remend. Kakashi was worried. Naruto's shift was coming up and Naruto looked pale. His skin was cold and Naruto himself was shaking. Kakashi shook Naruto until he woke up. "There you go. It's okay now, it was all a dream." Naruto looked down. "Is it my shift yet?" asked the black-haired teen. Kakashi nodded in affirmation. So Naruto got up and using his travel kit went through the morning rituals. He stayed on watch for the rest of the night. He didn't even bother to wake Sasuke up for his shift. Sasuke woke up at 6 a.m. He looked around to see only Naruto was awake. "Didn't sleep?" Naruto asked his younger brother. Sasuke shook his head. Stirring the stew he had put together with ingredients he had sealed in his scroll. Scooping some up to his plate, Naruto offered some to Sasuke, who graciously accepted. "You couldn't sleep either," stated Sasuke. Naruto shook his head. "I haven't had many good nights since the day my best friend died. At least he passed away in his sleep." Sasuke looked at Naruto in sympathy. "I know how it feels. There are nights I still have nightmares of my brother killing everyone." Naruto looked at Sasuke. "Guess we all have our own stories to tell, huh?" Sasuke nodded, sipping some of his stew. Later. They had finally made it to wave. Naruto again made a shadow clone and warped up. Using a genjutsu to make it seem as it was only Kakashi and the 3 genin. He wanted to see how the genin would deal in a situation with only them. And Kakashi. Soon enough, however, the mist began to thicken up. Hitomi suddenly shifted in her step and threw a kunai into the bush. When she went to investigate, she found a half-frightened white snow hare. She narrowed her eyes at the color of the rabbit's fur. Kakashi too looked at its suspiciously white coat. "But it's the middle of summer. That means Kakashi's eyes widened substitution. He heard something wheezing towards them and he shouted get down. As he tackled Tazuna, the three genin threw themselves on the floor. Kakashi looked up to see someone standing in the hilt of a 7-foot-long cleaver. He recognized the person Mamachi's abuser. Demon of the hidden mist. Naruto quirked an eyebrow. One of the 7 ninja swordsmen if I am not mistaken. Naruto looked around and saw a second figure hiding in the trees. He kept an eye on the mysterious and on the battle. Kakashi had fallen for a trap. Right now he was trapped in the water prison jutsu. He knew Naruto's plan. So instead of giving him away he shouted guys run he's too much for you. Take Tazuna and run away. Tomoe was the first to react no way sensei. You said those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash. She proceeded to make some shadow clones to distract Zabuza's water clone. She secretly made a shadow clone and had it transform into an windmill shuriken. Sasuke. She called out to him while tossing the folded up giant shuriken. Above in the trees Naruto was impressed. To have that level of coordination without speaking. He watched as Zabuza dodged both shuriken only for the first one to transform into Hitomi who grabbed the second shuriken and redirected at the arm Zabuza used to hold the prison jutsu. He continued watching as Kakashi trapped Zabuza in a jinjutsu and copying him and finally defeat him with a violent water wave jutsu. He suddenly felt the second figure move and he watched as the person revealed themselves as a Kiri Hunter Nin. He paid close attention at Zabuza's body. It had been struck by Sebans, so there is no way Zabuza was dead. The giveaway however was when Naruto watched a person take away Zabuza's body. So they're working together. Naruto thought. He waited until the person was out of his sensory range before making his way to the team. Only to watch as Kakashi passed out. Naruto Fasipum you shouldn't have wasted so much chakra Kakashi. Naruto told him in a stern tone. Kakashi unconscious was not able to respond. However the little brats were. Naruto sensei why didn't you help us? Sakura demanded. Sakura, sometimes deception is needed. Zabuza has an accomplice. Had that accomplice intervened I would have acted. I will explain once we're safe indoors. He turned to Tazuna how far is your home? At night. Finally settled into Tazuna's house. Naruto had laid Kakashi on a bedroll. Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter had showed him 2 rooms they could use. The Kakashi and Sasuke would be bunkong together while Sakura and Hitomi slept on a separate room. Kakashi groaned awake. Naruto looked up from a book he had brought along well look who returned to the land of the living. Naruto stated. Kakashi looked at him from his position, what do you see? Naruto closed the book masked accomplice. They're working together, thankfully they only think that it is only you and the genin. Naruto told him. Kakashi nodded. Tsunami knocked into the door diners ready. Diner table. Once everyone was at the table Kakashi spoke Zabuza is alive. Sakura looked at him in alarm what do you mean Kakashi sensei? Naruto looked at the pink hair Kunoichi. Sakura what weapon did the hunter nin used? Sakura looked at him that hunter nin used. Her eyes widened that means the hunter nin was a fake. Naruto inclined his head they are both working together. They will only expect you 3 and Kakashi, so I am an extra surprise. But even so the masked person is an unknown, so prepare to train your butts off. Sasuke looked at Kakashi does that mean we get to learn jutsu? Kakashi nodded I'm sure Naruto is willing to show you a few. Naruto nodded. Matter of fact since you 3 have been doing so well in your training, I want to find out your primary affinity so you can begin nature transformation. He said smiling from his pouch he took 3 slips of paper this is high grade, highly chakra sensitive paper, it will determine any potential affinity, aside from a primary or secondary you may have, just give it a little chakra. He told them handing them down. Sasuke was the first to go. His paper crinkled quite a bit before catching on fire. Naruto nodded Sasuke, you have a rather strong lightning affinity with a good secondary fire affinity. Sasuke nodded in satisfaction Sakura go. Kakashi ordered. Sakura channeled some chakra into her slip of chakra paper it turned damp before a bit of dust fell off. A good water primary with a potential earth secondary. A neutral element and a defensive element that's a good combo for a supportive fighter such as yourself Kakashi told Sakura. The girl beamed and everyone turned to Hitomi. Excited she channeled chakra into her paper. The result surprised everyone except Naruto. Her paper split before dampening and turning into dirt. Naruto narrowed his eyes with the Kyuubi affecting her since birth. She ended up getting the Kyuubi's powerful wind affinity with her mother's affinity for water jutsu. Earth however I expected her to have a lightning affinity. Kakashi clapped once congratulations Hitomi-chan, you have a powerful primary wind affinity with 2 secondary that equal strength. However you might have to ask either Hokage-sama or Asuma-sensei as wind style is not my forte and I don't think Naruto has a wind affinity. Naruto shook his head and took his own chakra paper chanlong, a bit of chakra everyone watched wide eyes as the paper split into 4 parts before the first piece combusted into a small fireball and the second turned to dirt and the third go wet. To finish it off the last was giving off sparks of lightning as it twinkled. I have a powerful affinity for lightning, but I have trained in 4 nature transformation except earth. Plus my rinnegan gave me a boost with all my affinities and gave me an okay earth affinity. Kakashi looked at him curiously. Why not earth? Naruto snorted. Why compete with the champions of earth jutsu when you can just call up lightning storms? Kakashi struck his chin. Good point. Naruto looked at the genin. Sakura Hitomi, I will work with your water and wind affinities. Sasuke will have a shadow clone work with you on lightning. If my suspicions are right, it will come as naturally to you as it came to me. The 3 genin nodded. Naruto stopped for a moment. Within the edges of his sensory range he felt a very, very familiar chakra signature flare. I'll be out training in the forest if you need me. He told the team and disappeared before anyone could protest. Forest of Nami no Kuni. He moved to the spot he had felt the chakra presence. He stood in the middle of a clearing. I'm out now, he growled. The voice he recognized rather well spoke to him. Caused him to freeze. To be continued. Chapter 6. Intro. Itachi Namikaze. Itachi woke up to a bright light bothering his eyes. He wasn't supposed to be awake. After all, he knew he was supposed to have died. He opened his eyes and saw himself being surrounded by forest flora. Standing up, he looked around and saw a person back turned to him. He approached the person. Excuse me, but where I am? Itachi asked. The person turned around, surprising Itachi by the fact it was the first Hokage. Itachi Namikaze. The first Hokage spoke. Itachi, frozen and speechless, could only nod dumbly. Welcome Itachi. To the in-between worlds. Said the Hokage. Itachi looked around. Am I dead? Hashirama motioned for him to sit down on a nearby bench. Yes. But not completely. You see Itachi. I'm not necessarily the same first Hokage you knew. I am from a similar dimension to your own. You see, our dimensions are so similar you could say they are the same. But at the same time they're not. Where yours is strife with warfare, mine at least has known some peace for your generation. And where mine has known peace, yours has known suffering. And it is this suffering which opens the path for understanding. And understanding, after all, is the key to love, if not blinded by hate. It is this reason why your brother is able to be so completely in love with a kunoichi that is not from Konoha nor her allies. Because they have such a deep understanding of each other, they simply cannot hate the other. Do you understand? Itachi nodded. I think I do. Hashirama then spoke again. Another thing that separates your world from mine is that the warrior generation endured has shaped you into the toughest shinobi I ever seen. Even some shinobi in my clan and the Uchiha weren't as strong as your generation during the clan wars. And although my Konoha has produced strong shinobi, it pales in comparison with your own. And because I've seen what is to come, I prepared a ritual that would allow me to pull to people from another dimension. And I've been watching you closely. If you were to accept, however, the Itachi from my world, it's a teen who on the inside is suffering. He had been forced to kill his own clan or face war. Only his mother and little brother remained. His torment is so great, little by little his soul is dying. And causing in turn for he to die too. Which will leave him unable to fulfill his task. Itachi weighed his options. What happens if I refuse? Hashirama smiled. Despite your actions in war, your soul remains pure. So pure you would be allowed to be with your family again. But my world without the 2 I picked would be doomed to fail. Even if its champions are alive. And thousands would suffer. Itachi sighed. He couldn't let others suffer. He hated to see people suffer. Rescuing defenseless civilians is what got him killed in the first place. I'll do it. But I have some questions. Hashirama nodded. First, how will I know what to do? Itachi asked. The knowledge will already be present. Hashirama answered. Second, who is the other? Itachi asked a second question. You will know when the time is right. A bright light filled Itachi and he disappeared from the clearing. Hashirama sighed. Now I got to figure out how to transport someone who doesn't even exist in my dimension in the first place. He suddenly had a brilliant idea. With Itachi, the soul of the older Itachi fused with the almost empty husk of his younger body, revitalizing and breathing new life into it. While he was unconscious, the older consciousness absorbed the younger. Itachi woke up 7 hours later more refreshed than he had ever been. He looked around himself and saw that he had been in a bed. The room around him was rather Spartan with only one other bed in the room. The door opened and someone semi-familiar stepped through. You okay, Itachi? You've been asleep for almost 10 hours now. You barely sleep. Said Kisame. Yeah, I'm feeling better. Let's just go. Replied Itachi. 2 years later, Itachi and Kisame were done doing missionary work for their organization. Itachi had been able to adjust rather well. Walking through the deep forest of Fire Country. Ridiculously close to Konoha. It was 9 at night when he suddenly felt a rather familiar chakra signature. Itachi smiled. He had just gotten some downtime. Maybe he'd go track down his wayward brother. Almost a month later. It is good to see you again. Narinai. Naruto turned around. His little brother Itachi stood there. 2 years older now. Naruto took in the form of his brother. Why you're here? Itachi looked at him. Yes, been here since it that day. Hashirama-sama had been kind enough to fill me to what role I was supposed to play. I never thought I'd be seeing you here. Naruto nodded. I thought I was here on my own. It was only the fact that Hashirama-sama told me I'd get my second chance here. And the fact Lord Hokage saddled me with a family to think about, else I would have gone mad. He said, moving to sit down. In a sakura tree that had been to his right. How did you know I was here, Tachi? Naruto asked him. I was near Konoha when I felt your chakra appear out of nowhere. Naruto nodded. He turned to his brother that had sat down next to him. How have you been? I couldn't exactly be easy, you know. Living as a S-rank missing nin, one branded as a kinslayer at that. Itachi took a packet of Pocky, offering some to his elder brother. You know, Naruto. I love Konoha and I hate war. If it means no more children would be sacrificed for war and that we could have a few more years of peace, I would do it again. Itachi told him. Naruto looked at him and pray tell me what did you tell Sasuke about the Manjikyu? Itachi chuckled. I wasn't here then, but I got the younger's me memories. He wanted Sasuke to kill him as a sort of redemption. He didn't know what we know. Naruto accepted the explanation. Taking a Pocky stick, Itachi asked him, how's this family the Hokage tasked you with? Naruto smiled. There's our mother. She was slightly skeptical at first, but quickly warmed up to the idea. Sasuke was surprisingly easy to win over, although he just refers me as Naruto or Naruto-sensei. I got saddled with Kakashi, he is surprisingly the same as in our own. Emotional saddle, regretting the past. Then there's the crown jewel of the family. Hitomi-chan. She is the daughter of dad and stepmom. The Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Itachi stopped. Naruto. Even though on the books I'm a missing nin, I also work as a double agent for the Hokage and Jiraiya-sama. I'm in an organization whose goal is to capture the Jinchuriki. The leader calls himself Pain, he has the rinnegan in both eyes. And says he is going to use the Bijuu to build a weapon to bring peace. Naruto stopped. There can only be one reason why he wants the tailed beast, he told Itachi. Itachi nodded. What was in that stone anyway? Naruto looked at him. If my hunch is right. Then your leader is after the same monster I once went after. Itachi looked at him oddly. Naruto. What happened after I die? Naruto sighed in regret. After I got your eyes I read the stone tablet. It spoke about the Sharingan its stages and how to get them. And after the section on the abilities of the Manjikyu. It spoke of how the tailed beast were once part of the same being. Who apparently brought peace by casting a Jinjutsu upon the moon. Me and Fugaku laid the foundations. By then I had become an agreeable friend with the Kyuubi. Kurama tried to warn me about the stone being tampered with. But with your death. I became desperate. I was afraid too. Naruto stopped unsure for a second. Itachi, still nibbling on his Pocky stick, said I know about your relationship with the Iwa Kunoichi. At first I didn't like it. But I saw how happy you two were so I left you two alone and never said anything. Naruto nodded. I was afraid to lose Kuretsuchi. You know that day I got the summon about your condition. I was with her talking about kids. He said with a fond smile. But then he frowned, but I knew I had been poisoned with something. And when you died. I was afraid to lose Kuro-chan. But I also saw the clouds gathering. So I betrayed Konoha. I fated my imagine by killing Danzo's entire root division. Jiraiya gave chase to me, but I was determined. I would unleash the infinite Tsukiyomi. And bring peace to the elemental nations. I went into hiding to train. 6 months later I awoke my rinnegan and since it has its own self-awareness, it aided me in training. A year and a half later. I attacked the hidden rock and made sure to be seen. And when Kuretsuchi saw me. She gave chase to me. Those eyes filled with heartbreak and betrayal. I wanted to comfort her, but I knew what I had to do. She begged me to stop. She begged me to come to my senses. But I just summoned the Kyuubi and proceeded into attacking her. For 3 days we fought. The Jinchuriki of Iwa arrived to her aid. But even then I continued to push them. On the 3rd day, my chakra was running low. The poison no longer stopped by my or the Kyuubi's chakra, nor the medical cocktail continued to wreak havoc on my body. Until I had to kneel. Kuretsuchi pressed the advantage and had hand restrain me. Then she did something that made me realize how much of a fool I had been. Itachi looked at him. Eyebrow raised. What could make Nai-san falter? He asked himself. Naruto looked at him. Manjikyu activated. Why don't I show you? Itachi felt himself shift as the world around him shifted. He looked around and saw the Kyuubi being restrained by the 5 tails. The image before him was still. Suddenly his brother appeared. Follow me, Itachi. Itachi nodded and silently followed his older brother until they came to be in front of the Kunoichi. Battered red battle dress that accentuated her legs and hugged her curves. Her short black hair and black eyes tear-stained. Naruto sighed as he played the memory to his brother. Memory scene. Moments later here he appeared in front of the mother of his child. But before she could completely even set her daughter on the altar she felt Naruto appear. Placing down the baby, Kuretsuchi took up a kunai prepared to defend her precious little girl. Inside she prayed to whatever deity existed that the man turned monster in front of her held some shred of her husband humanity. And that he would at least spare a child. She held on to that hope as she saw the tears form and fall from his face. For the first time since she married Naruto. She felt a shift in his chakra. Gone was the cold and foul feel. Even the darkness was more comforting. Then she heard him speak, I can't believe I won't live long enough to see her grow up. Kuretsuchi's hope bloomed a bit more. Naruto, just surrender, I'm sure we could show you some leniency. Naruto shook his head. Kuretsuchi. During the attack on Kumo I was hit by an unknown poison. No doctor left alive could cure it. I could only buy time. Kuretsuchi felt her hopes go up in smoke once more. She looked at Naruto. Kurohime. I'm dying. And when I did I wanted to ensure that our family. He was interrupted by a coughing fit. She looked as more and more blood fell from his mouth. She yelled at him, why did you leave, we could have been a family. Naruto looked at the baby who had woken up crying at the sound of her mother's scream. I never wanted for any children. I would have fathered with you to be born into a broken world. I failed at that. I failed at protecting my brothers. I broke the promise I made, mother. I failed you. I'm a failure that failed everyone. Care for her, Kuretsuchi. Because the curse of hatred will come around full circle. War will start again. He weaved hand seals and using his connection to the Kyuubi, sealed the beast up into the 1-year-old using the 7 tetragram seal. Naruto took his last remaining kunai. It was the special kind his father used and handed it to Kuretsuchi. If you still love me and my suffering. She took his kunai trembling and stabbed his heart. Sobbing into his armored chest. Naruto hugged her one last time and uttered his last words to her, I love you, Kuretsuchi Namikaze. Always, in this life and the next. Scene break. Itachi had tears in his eyes, he had a niece. He looked as his brother, I don't know what to say. Naruto himself having tears falling down his face. I have viewed this scene 1,000 times in my mind. I don't even know my own daughter's name. Kakashi asked me if I had a chance to get the Kuretsuchi of this dimension. He asked me if would take it. I would, if only to get a semblance of the family I once had. Itachi. Naruto paused, swiping the tears from his eyes. You're here too. If only Dad and Kushina had been alive. If Hideyoshi was here. But at least I got you. And he'll fight to bring you home too. I could never get back what I willingly threw away, but no one ever said no to trying again. The two brothers just hugged. Itachi broke the hug. And took out a scroll. This is a contract I have with the Ravens. I want to sign it. At least we'll be in contact with each other. Naruto nodded and but his thumb signing the contract with his blood. Naruto was working with Hitomi on the leaf cutting exercise. She was doing decently, managing to produce the blades of wind and cutting a small portion of the leaf. Naruto sees a raven flying above him, holding out his arm. He waited for the bird to land. Latching its feet onto his arm, it sticks its leg out to let Naruto take the note that was attached. Zabuza is currently lodging in a cabin 50 miles southwest of your position. He is fully recovered and is preparing to launch an offensive tomorrow. Gato's hold is a mansion 75 miles of shore to the east. Near that island signed. Itachi, adding the bird's head, he takes out a notepad from his pouch, quickly writing a thank you. He rips off the note, tying it to the summon, to which the bird flies off to its owner. Sensei, what was that? Asked Hitomi curiously. Naruto looked at her. Don't worry Hitomi, go back to the exercise. Hitomi pouted, but it's hard sensei. Naruto smiled and patted her head. Do not worry. Besides, you're doing fine Hitomi. You managed to cut part of the leaf. Just continue little by little until you're able to slice the leaf cleanly in half in one go. Hitomi nodded. During the week, Naruto was able to convince Kakashi in upping Team 7's training. Summoning a clone, he decided to teach to Hitomi and Sakura combat ninjutsu. Futon and Suiton respectively. Kakashi explained to Sasuke that unlike him, his teammates did not have an offensive technique akin to the Gakakyu. Seeing how Sasuke reluctantly nodded, Kakashi decided to teach him a defensive Raiten technique he copied off from a Kumo shinobi. Sasuke did not complain afterwards. The day passed slowly as Sakura was able to make some progress on the leaf exercise. To extract moisture from the leaf. Sasuke on the other hand had some trouble in the beginning of his exercise. Until Kakashi dropped him a few hints, after which he progressed greatly in crumpling his leaves. As night falls, Tsunami invites Kakashi and his team to dinner, which they graciously accept. Dinner was a pleasant occasion when suddenly Inari, Tsunami's son, spoke up. You all are just gonna die. Kakashi stares at the boy wondering where on Kami's green earth did that statement come from. Pardon me. You're going to die. Activity on the dinner table ceased, everyone now paying attention to the boy. Kakashi, blinking, asks what makes you say that. Without skipping a beat, Inari stares at Kakashi. Gato is too strong. He has hundreds of men. He will simply kill you. Sasuke's got annoyed at the lack of confidence in his abilities. Listen kid, we're shinobi. A couple of thugs are nothing to academy students if they are properly trained, and we are genin. We can handle 100 or so untrained men. Scowling at how his statement was easily tossed aside, Inari stubbornly repeats. You will still die. Naruto, having humored the kid enough, places his utensils down, his hunger vanishing. Tell me, how is Gato going to kill us? Noting the tone of his teammate, Kakashi attempts to de-escalate the growing tension in the dinner table, but was too late. Gato has hundreds of men. If you kill one, another will just pop up and kill you. Naruto looked at Inari, restraining in his annoyance as he replies. Listen kid. From where I grew up, kids younger than you were sent out to fight in wars. With a forced grace, he picks up a napkin to wipe at his lips where residue of food laid. We were out for months at a time on campaigns to ensure the survival of our village, clan and family. When I was 16, on a particularly nasty engagement, I had been sent to reinforce our left flank. From the original company that had been on the assault, only 50 were left from the original 500. He places his hands on the table and glares at the child, preparing to talk to him like he was well a child. We were facing odds of 20 to 1. 2,000 enemy shinobi. Not thugs. Not wannabe samurai. But highly trained deadly shinobi. Ignoring the look that Kakashi was giving him, he continues. And all that it took was an arrow from my bow. A quarter of my chakra. Within a second, no, in fact within a split of a second, they lay dead on the field. Preparing to leave, Naruto stands and heads towards the door, but not before saying. Never never tell me that I'm gonna die. I had my fill of death as it is. Slamming the door as he departs to God knows where, those at the table were left speechless. A grim silence passes over the people gathered at the table. Inari runs to his room, letting people hear him cry as he goes deeper into the house. A meek voice from the blonde Kunoichi breaks the silence. Kakashi-sensei. Is Naruto-sensei really that strong? Kakashi sighed. Hitomi, soon you will learn that there are shinobi who are so powerful that they have their own rules of engagement, that not even a seasoned squad of jonin could stand against them. Minato-sensei, the fourth Hokage being one of them. I apologize for my son's behavior. He's been depressed since his father was taken away from us by Gato. A tear threatens to fall down her face. She wipes it away before collecting the dishes. Quietly excusing herself so she may start cleaning up and store the leftovers in the fridge. Azuna, finally summoning the courage, asked the question everyone wanted to ask: did he really kill that many people? Kakashi nodded. Naruto Namikaze is said to be the strongest shinobi in the century. On par or possibly even stronger than his ancestor Madara Uchiha. Growing up in a place such as his, where war is common, the strife of battle has left its mark on him. He stood up. I'll go talk to Inari. Naruto didn't mean to word it so callously, but he's not the most sociable out there after what has happened to him. Kakashi walks upstairs, searching for Inari's room. His search didn't take long until he heard the sniffling coming out of the door to his left. Gently knocking on the door, he waited for a response and was not surprised he didn't get one. After knocking one more time and not getting anything, he gently opens the door to see Inari on his bed curled up against the wall sniffing. Kakashi came in and sat down next to him. I'm sorry about my teammate. He means well. He truly does. But he has his own unique set of experiences that shaped him into the man he is today. Inari, wiping some of the tears, asked, did he really do what he said he did? Kakashi looked at him. Inari. Naruto is a soldier who grew up fighting wars. He lost his father and stepmother in said wars. He couldn't be with his mom because of the circumstances surrounding his birth. He truly does care. Situations like your own is why he does it. Infused, Inari looked up to the silver-haired Cyclops. Do you know why he continues to fight even though he has long deserved some peace? Inari, now curious, waits patiently so he can hear why the scary raven-haired man fights so hard. Seeing how Inari was waiting, Kakashi continues. His upbringing is somewhat similar to yours. The reason why he fights so hard is so little boys and girls like you don't have to worry about their mom or dad not coming home one day. Or for parents to have to worry about their child. Seeing that Inari was now calming down, Kakashi wishes him a good night and walks out of the room. Allowing Inari to sit in silence as he remembers what his father all but in blood taught him. Protect the things that are the most precious to you, Inari. With these two arms, scene change. As Naruto materializes from his kamui into a clearing not far from where he and Kakashi teach, he sets aside his gun and summons a clone to get some firewood. He sits and meditates in the meanwhile. Naruto realizes that he may have gone a bit too far with the boy, but he needed a wake-up call. If this Kakashi was anything like the one back home, he would most likely explain to Inari. As Naruto breathes in deeply and exhales slowly, a twig in the distance snaps. Without even opening his eyes, he calls out to the two that were hiding from him. You can come out, Hitomi. You too, Sasuke. Seems like you caught us, huh? A sheepish voice belonging to his Namikaze sibling who is now sitting opposite to him. He wouldn't have found us that easily if you were hiding properly, dope. Following his teammate's actions, he sits beside her, ignorant of the fact that she was fuming at the remark he just made. Boy. I'll have you know that even some Anbu can't find me. And yet a chunin like Iruka-sensei can easily locate you. As the banter between the two rages on, Naruto slowly opens his eyes to see a nostalgic sight before him. A wave of melancholy hits him, a sorrowful smile on his lips. Flashbacks to a simpler time when he too would banter similar to this with his former lover. Sensing the mood of their sensei, they stop and turn to him and at the same time ask, "Is everything alright, sensei?" Breathing in to calm his nerves, a playful smirk replaces the sad smile. "Now if you two are done fighting like an old couple, who wants to ask me a question first?" A blush, like his stepmother's nickname, blazes onto his two students' cheek, sputtering denials and vigorously denying any form of love between the two of them. "Relax, I'm just teasing you two." With an adorable pout from Hitomi Mu, "That was mean, sensei." After laughing for a bit, they all quiet down till Naruto asks Sasuke to ask his question first. "Did you really kill that many people?" Letting out a sigh, Naruto explains his actions. While he did not enjoy the senseless slaughter of his enemies, he did take comfort in the fact that due to his carnage, he could keep the people he cared about safe from harm. "Then can't I get that strong too?" Although Sasuke was the one who asked, Hitomi looked as if she had asked the same question. The cool breeze passes. The group strength is relative and there are many ways to attain it. "I told you about the curse of the Uchiha, didn't I, Sasuke?" Alarmed at such a statement, Hitomi's eyes widen in horror as she switches, looking between her teammate and sensei. "Yes. But you want to know how I know?" Canceling the Jinjutsu around his right eye, he shows them both the pattern of his eternal Manjikyu and slowly spins the tomoe rinnegan to further his point. He looks directly at Sasuke. "It's caused I lived through it. The path I've walked is one where I fell into the darkness, not knowing which way was up or down. Through my journey to attain power, I have nothing but the scars of pain and emptiness to prove it." Shuddering at the empty look of their sensei, finding themselves unable to look away, they continuing listening to his warnings. "Well, I told you about the curse, I didn't tell you about the one way I know to stop from falling in the dark. You want to know what it is? It's the light." Seeing the confusion on both their faces, Naruto continues explaining. "Whatever light is in your life, whether it be the love of your family, your friends, grasp it and hold on to it tightly, never letting go. Find as many as you can because they will help you in your journey. Listen closely, the both of you. To beat the dark it only takes a little bit of light." Channeling chakra to activate the Jinjutsu, Naruto's eyes return to their normal state. "What I've been through, I wouldn't even wish it upon my enemies, least of all my little brother. Though, I may consider wishing it to those Kumo and I would trash, and that's depending on my mood," Naruto silently tells himself. Ignorant of the reaction of both of his students of calling Sasuke his little brother. "Well, I might be here to help guide you in unlocking your eyes, little brother. It does not guarantee you a life free from darkness. Hold on to your light so you do not get lost." His youngest little brother now slowly stand up with a thoughtful frown, dusts himself off. "Thank you for your wisdom, sensei. You have given me a lot to think about tonight. I'll be departing first since I'm guard duty tomorrow. Good night, sensei." Bowing slightly, Sasuke turns around and walks to the house. Just as Sasuke leaves, the clone Naruto appears in a shunshin carrying a bountiful amount of firewood. Placing it down in a bundle, it performs a small Kaiten technique and dispels itself after completing its task. Once again closing his eyes, Naruto resumes his breathing exercise whilst he waits for Hitomi to ask her question. Though she seemed to be struggling, judging by the way she's constantly fidgeting with her orange jacket. And I am Hitomi's eyes staring at the ground beneath her as her hair covers her eyes. Not wanting to rush her, Naruto hums in response, "Yes, Hitomi." Some time lapses as Hitomi finally gathers the courage to ask her question. "Do you think I can be Hokage? Where did that come from?" Opening his eyes once again. "What makes you say that?" I want to Hokage so others can acknowledge me, but sometimes Sakura and even Sasuke say I don't have what it takes to be one. I was wondering if Kakashi-sensei or you thought the same." A solemn tone lacing her voice, emphasizing the latter. Contemplating on where Hitomi's doubts were coming from, Naruto frowns in thought. Where is her doubt coming from? Sure, it can be disheartening to hear rejection from your peers, but it shouldn't cast such a cloud over her head. Why is she concerned about Kakashi's opinion? Why is she worried about my reaction? Realization hits Naruto like a Biju-powered punch. She's worried about my reaction because I'm her brother. She's worried about being rejected by her family. Silently scolding himself, it doesn't help that I called Sasuke little brother. Well, with her it's just Hitomi. Her low self-esteem due to being a Jinchuriki was further lowered by me. Albeit unintentionally. You're wondering if I would call your dream of being the Hokage worthless, aren't you? Flinching, Hitomi curls up into a ball, hugging her knees. She shuts her eyes tightly, hot tears beginning to form between her eyelids. Waiting for the prospect of her brother rejecting her dream like what the villagers do and even some of her classmates. The beginnings of a weeping break, that is, until she feels a warm hand softly caressing her head. Daring to hope, she peeks to see the figure sitting opposite her, smiling in a way she has never seen him do so before. Eyes filled with warmth and love, accompanied by the gentlest of smiles. "Whatever you dream of, Whatever it is you aspire to be. I will always love you and be proud of you, my dear Amato. Whatever restraint Hitomi had in not weeping openly before shatters as she hears that phrase. Leaping into her brother's arms, she cries loudly. Tightly holding on to a light that seemed distant to her at first but now shined brightly as if to keep the darkness away. Hitomi rejoices in the fact that she has family, her family, the family she has been desperately searching for this entire time. While Auntie Mikoto may have showered her with love, Grandpa Hokage encouraging her dream, or even Old Man Tucci and AM keeping her safe, there was a small part of her that realized she wanted it to come from an actual family member. To love her unconditionally. Even though Naruto has become jaded thanks to his experience, he could not help but shed a tear as he comforts his little sister. Looking to the night sky, he sees it starting to get late. Not wanting to keep his sister up, he tells her it's time to sleep. Getting up and wiping the tears with her jacket sleeve, a 1000-watt smile shines on her face. I'm gonna train now. It's getting late, Hitomi-chan. You can always train tomorrow. No. I almost got it. I can feel it. After mastering this, I'm one step closer to being Hokage. Laughing at his sister's antics, Naruto relents and agrees to watch over his sister, who has now energetically begun cutting leaves with her chakra with him sitting by the fire. After a few hours, Hitomi finally passes out from exhaustion, but not before being caught by Naruto. Carrying her, he activates Kamui to enter a room, but not before noting the smile on her face. Gingerly tucking away his sister next to Sakura, who was talking about some nonsense about a pig to get off her man, he sits down next to the sleeping form of Hitomi. Gently swiping her hair so that her face wouldn't be hidden to the world. As he does so, the door opens revealing Kakashi. Although Naruto's back was facing towards his silver-haired teammate, he could practically feel the smile coming off him and through his masks. Standing up to leave the room, he motions Kakashi to follow. As Naruto was about to close the door, he heard a whisper. "Good night, Ani-chan." Smiling back, "Good night, my dear sister." Walking down the stairs to the living room, he sees Kakashi sitting in a chair in reverse with an arm out holding out a cup. "I see our little bundle of joy is tired out. I hope you didn't push her too hard." Chuckling, he hands the cup to Naruto, who offers his thanks and proceeds to drink the warm beverage. "I saw Sasuke a while back, he had a look on his face, but it seems whatever burden he was shouldering has been lifted a little from him. At this rate, my cute little genin are going to request you be their full-time teacher." The comfortable silence issues as the two jounin drink their warm tea. "So how long do you think till Zabuza strikes again?" asks Kakashi. Sipping his tea, Naruto responds, "Tomorrow. I had my summons do some aerial reconnaissance for the past few days. Didn't get back to me till this afternoon." "Wait. Summons? How?" Thinking of what he discussed with Itachi, "I know. Imagine my surprise when I tested out the summoning technique on a whim. You should have seen the summons face. I had to use my eyes to burn the image of that raven gawking in disbelief at me." "Ravens? Like Itachi's?" A sliver of concern accompanies Kakashi's question. "Don't worry. They do want to cut all ties with him, but they are honor bound to keep his contract, but they are willing to not tell him about me so long as he doesn't ask. Something about me bringing back the prestige of the Raven contract that has been tarnished by the actions of the Kinslayer." Naruto had to resist flinching as he said that. True, the Ravens and himself knew about the truth of Itachi's slaughter. Thanks to Itachi, and after a tense argument was made, Naruto reluctantly agreed to besmirch and denounce his other younger brother until he's proven innocent or otherwise. Mostly to direct attention away from him from a certain one-eyed crippled counselor. Itachi revealed that only a handful of the higher echelons of Konoha knew the truth of the Uchiha massacre, Kakashi not being one of them. So for now, Naruto will keep up with the deception. That doesn't mean he has to like it. "I see. What about his accomplice?" "I want Team 7 to handle the Hunter Nin. I'll look after them while you deal with Zabuza. I'll intervene when I know they're outmatched." Finalizing the battle plan, Naruto offers to take watch of the night with his shadow clones. Allowing Kakashi to rest up for his battle tomorrow. Summoning 2 clones, one to guard the perimeter, the other to keep watch inside. Naruto dozes off to rest his physically body. Waiting for the nightmares to return, but surprisingly they did not come. Next day, Page Bunshin no Jutsu. A duplicate of Naruto formed beside him without a hint of smoke that usually follows when performing this technique. Mentally commanding himself to look after the family and Hitomi, he departs to where the bridge is. Naruto left a shadow clone to look after his dimensional counterpart as she sleeps. No doubt tired from training excessively the day before. From what Itachi informed him about the workings of Gedo, Naruto can easily summarize that small excuse of a human will most likely send a goon or two to take Tsunami and her son Inari hostage. While Naruto did have the confidence to trust Hitomi in handling that situation, it did not hurt to have a contingency just in case. On his way to the bridge, he disposed a few of Gedo's men who were straggling about. Though, the number of men concerned Naruto considering how they seemed to be gearing up to do something. Mentally taking a note, Naruto rushes towards the bridge where he comes upon a battle between his dimensional younger brother, facing off against a hunter nin from before with a dome of ice. That's a Kekkei Genkai from the hidden mist. Frowning at the revelation, knowing Sasuke's level, he is going to struggle against his opponent. If he had Hitomi as backup, they had a 60% chance of overcoming the hunter nin. Speaking of which, where is Sakura? Glancing around, Naruto sees Sakura guarding Tazuna, who looks like he's about to soil his pants. Upon inspecting Sakura's current state, she seems to have backed Sasuke up a bit before retreating to protect Tazuna. I'll give her points in guarding the client, but in a case like this, she should have taken a risk and fought with Sasuke. Relaxing his stance, he continues to observe the fight between the ice user and Sasuke, preparing himself for when he needs to take over. Though Sasuke had warmed up to him somewhat, Naruto could tell his pride would have been wounded if he were to preemptively intervene. Plus it would help the younger Uchiha in getting some much-needed battle experience against a stronger opponent in a safe environment. Closing his eyes to attempt to sense where Kakashi was, he picked up 2 signatures further down the bridge. Satisfied in letting Kakashi handle his opponent, he turns his eyes to the ice user. Naruto was now deducing the level of the Kekkei Genkai user, calculating his speed, strength and tactics while analyzing Sasuke's as well. Naruto flinched a tiny bit when a new memory popped up in his mind. So Hitomi was able to take of the goons and brought Tsunami and Inari to safe place. Good, she's currently running with all her might to reach the bridge. She should be here soon. Turning on his Manjikyu Sharingan, he visually imprints the battle with Sasuke being the main focus so he can later tell him of what went wrong and compliment him if he had done something right. Hitomi rushes out from the forest and into the dome just in time. With her kunai, she deflected the senbons that would have pierced Sasuke's back. Hey team, looks like you were having some trouble with this guy, so I decided to help you. A confident smug appears on Hitomi's face while a glare is being slowly formed by Sasuke. Whatever keeps you sleeping at night, dope. A quiet sigh of relief comes out of Sasuke, who has already turned his head to the hunter nin. Thankful to the deities up above for sending his rescuer, though he would never admit it out loud. Hitomi, characteristically, screams foul after hearing such a remark. A tick mark forms on Naruto's brow, annoyed at the banter of his 2 students they were making in front of the enemy. That's a habit I'm going to need to beat out of you too. The cold shiver passes through the aforementioned students. The fight continues on now that Sasuke had backup. However, the outcome was slowly but surely favoring the hunter's side. Naruto's right eyebrow lifts up as he sees his male kin shield Hitomi from a rainstorm of senbons that were about to puncture the Uzumaki. That was a bit unexpected. Releasing a sigh, Naruto activates his EMS and Kamui's to their location so he could finally take over. As he appears before Hitomi, who glances up at him, tears rolling down her face, Naruto, still using his EMS, sees the chakra lines within Sasuke's body. The eyebrow from before going up even further than last time once he finishes his inspection. Hitomi, save your tears, Sasuke's still alive. It seems he is in what Zabuza was a week before. A faux death state. Sensing how his comment was calming down the Jinchuriki, he turns his head towards Hunter Nin, who has now upgraded their guard against this unknown foe. Take Sasuke to where Tazuna is, I'll handle the rest. Just as he was about to unsling his battle gun by, no. I can still fight. Restraining his annoyance, he turns to speak to Hitomi when a moment soon after, a hail of ice was flung towards him. Achieve her reflection while still facing Hitomi, he quickly releases his gun by and single-handedly swings a mighty gust nonchalantly to deflect some of the ice while the rest is flung back to the hunter. As he was about to speak once again, he sees that the girl in front of him has now adopted a stance of a beaten animal, face full of fear. She's most likely reacting to my face right now. Sighing, he makes a mental note to hunt down anyone who have harmed her physically or mentally and give them the patented Uchiha glare. I may be her brother, but she seems to expect me being cross and angry at her like the villagers if she did even the littlest thing wrong. Closing his eyes, he takes a deep breath and speaks. Hitomi, I understand your need to avenge Sasuke, I truly do. Flashbacks to his time and his world quickly form and disappear within his mind, souring Naruto's mood further. But I need you to trust my decision. I'm sending you to Tazuna so you can guard both him and Sasuke from potential third parties. Sakura cannot protect them both by herself. A brief silence occurs within the battlefield, as if to prepare what Naruto was about to say next. Do not misunderstand me, dear sister, I'm proud of your actions today. Responding with a reluctant nod, she gingerly picks Sasuke up and proceeds to bring the lifeless body of her teammate to the other team member that is both panicking at Sasuke's state and relief that her other sensei was here. However, before Hitomi goes kick his ass, Naruto Nai-chan. Oh, I intend to. No one harms my kin without retribution, a cruel smirk on his lips as he starts to advance towards the hunter nin, who seems to have disappeared into the mirrors within the dome. Flexing his muscles and rolling his neck in preparation, Naruto stops a few feet in front of the dome mirrors. His left hand in front of him with a come-hither motion, a gun by in his right, the eternal Manjuku Sharingan, blazes brightly with determination as the next Madara finally enters the stage of this world. Now then, Hunter of the Hidden Mist, shall we dance? Recap. Last chapter. Flexing his muscles and rolling his neck in preparation, Naruto stops a few feet in front of the dome mirrors. His left hand in front of him with a come-hither motion, a gun by in his right, the eternal Manjuku Sharingan blazes with determination as the next Madara finally enters the battle stage of this world. Now then, Hunter of the Hidden Mist, shall we dance? Now, the tomoe stood there motionless. Why? First, she and Sasuke had a hard time against the enemy nin, barely even landing a blow. Second, her despair rose for every plan that he and her came up with failed. Third, she nearly lost it when Sasuke blocked the hail of senbons that were supposed to be for her. Fourth, her anger and guilt nearly reached their limit, and if it weren't for her Naruto Nai, she knew somewhere deep in her gut something horribly wrong would have happened. Last but not least. The main reason why she was standing still was because her brother was freaking cool. It was no surprise that the moment she laid Sasuke down, Sakura started sobbing and asked a bunch of questions to a boy who wasn't even conscious. But that didn't matter. She kept her eyes on her brother. It was one thing to hear the tales of her brother's battle prowess. It was a completely different story in seeing them firsthand. The moment Naruto Nai entered the ice dome, he did some sort of taunt that got an immediate reaction. An omnidirectional senbon attack. She was about to run to his side until she saw him do a side flip and wave around that massive fan-like weapon around in a 180-degree horizontal arc. It blew back all the senbons away, some of them even landing a few meters from her feet. He started doing seals with only his left hand. Wait. Was that even possible? It had to be, seeing how some sort of crazy Raiten jutsu just surged from his right hand and into that oversized fan. Wow, that's a massive lightning dragon. Maybe I should step back a bit. Off change. Naruto. Raiten. Raryamuchi no Jutsu. Lightning release. Thunder Dragon Whip technique. A thick lightning construct of a dragon forms from the tip of the gun by, slithering in the air. With each swing Naruto made, he would deflect the senbons, and the dragon would follow his movements like an elongated whip. At times, it would attack in an unpredictable manner as if it had a mind of its own, causing the hunter to be lightly tasered by the edges from time to time. With his left Sharingan, he had already spotted the hunter dashing from mirror to mirror. Waiting for the next interval, Naruto's left eye slowed the perception of time down to the point the hunter moved at a snail-like pace. His speed was at mid-chunin level when fighting against my siblings. Now though, it's high chunin breaking through to low jounin level. Seems he was holding back on them. How curious. Terminating his Raiten jutsu, he engaged a hunter that was in mid-dash. Naruto caught the hunter completely off guard by the sudden increase in his speed. Spinning his body to deliver a mid-air spinning kick to the chest, a loud omph exits the mouth of the hunter as their back slams into one of the many mirrors, cracking it deeply. Seeing how the hunter was groaning, Naruto paused for a bit so his opponent could get some air in their lungs for all the good that it would do. Seeing how he felt the hunter's eyes were on him, a smirk twists his lips as he taunts his downed opponent. You better not be done. I'm just getting started. Playfully twirling the gun by in his right hand as if it weighed nothing, he stops as the tip of his weapon was pointed towards the hunter. And I want my pound of flesh. Ninpo. Kamitachi no Jutsu, ninja art. Sickle weasel technique. Stepping back a bit, legs now shoulder width apart. He raised a fan to his right side, left hand now grabbing the end of the gun by handle, while his right held the top part. Twisting his entire body with everything he had, Naruto swings the fan as if it were a baseball bat. The hunter would have been ripped to shreds if not for his quick thinking. Casting the body replacement technique, the hunter switched places with a massive block of broken concrete nearby. Just as the many currents of wind were about to slam on the hunter, there in his place was only shredded dust. Off change. Haku. Quickly retreating into a mirror, Haku relaxes and tries to catch his breath from the near-death experience. A lightning affinity where he is in full control of the element. A wind affinity strong enough to shred concrete stone to dust. Who is this person? How have we not heard about him? I can tell he's playing with me. If he decides to finish me off now, Zabuza-sama would not be able to handle the copy nin with this monster as his backup. I need to step up my game even further. Launching out of the mirror. He forms the unique set of single-handed seals for his technique. Breathing in, Haku shouts. The jutsu. Sanzensatsu Susho. Secret technique. 3,000 flying water needles of death. Accumulating all the water Haku could focus on, the moisture in the air, the puddles on the ground, the water in the sea below. She claps her hands together, then motions an arc towards his opponent, forming an incredible amount of needle-shaped water. He swings his hands towards the unknown enemy, hoping this would be enough as his chakra levels were reaching a dangerous low point. However, in a cruel twist of fate, Haten. Kin no Moya. Fire release. Inferno haze, a dense and slow-moving fire erupts from the mouth of Haku's enemy. his technique slowly evaporating the needles that approached him. He has a fire affinity to wait. Haku forms a few water clones to try to distract the Konoha nin, and so he could think for a bit. Haku retreats back into his mirrors and starts brainstorming. Staring at his enemy's weapon. A gun by his raven-colored hair, that pale alabaster skin. He flinches as he sees his clones being brutally dispatched, a war sickle now occupying his opponent's left hand. Eviscerating his water clones. Multiple elemental ninjutsu, and he mentioned that I harmed his kin with his ice. Dear God, he's an Uchiha too. Ah, so you finally deduced my identity, haven't you, my little hunter? Shocked as how he seemed to able to read his mind, Haku ironically froze. If you're wondering, no, I can't read your mind, but I can read your body language. Hahaha, I was wondering when you would figure it out. In my haste, I will admit that I may have been a bit too eager in revealing my eyes before engaging you. Seeing how you didn't give me a reaction till now, I guess you weren't quite paying attention to them. His arm snaking out, he viciously snatches the last of the clones by the neck like a viper. He slowly raises the struggling body of water till up. He crushes the neck of the clone, all the while keeping his eye on the mirror that Haku resided in. You and I both know I am toying around with you. In fact, not to sound too arrogant, but I've been only expelling 10 to 15% of my effort to beat you, and no, I'm not exaggerating on the amount. Shivering at the prospect that this Uchiha survivor had not even begun to start fighting seriously. Haku still stands motionless within the mirrors. They would keep him safe, right? No, they wouldn't. I have enough literal firepower to break you out of that mirror, but what I have been trying to figure out this entire time is your deal. Realizing a bit too late that he voiced that out loud, his hand covered the part of his mask where his mouth would have been. Before I intervened, I was standing nearby observing your battle with my siblings. I noticed something strange in your fighting style. I mean, you had plenty of chances to kill them, but you hesitated. A hunter nin of Kiri was hesitating in killing off a couple of brats. So I waited and waited until when you went for the bringing his free hand up, index and middle upright before bending it twice. Killing blow. All those restraints against them, he shakes his head. The only reason why you are still alive is because I have yet to think of a reason as to why you are doing this. Why you put up with this farce. Haku weighed his options. Now accepting that he is now in the complete mercy of his opponent. Surrenders. He dispels his mirrors, to which they turn from solid then to liquid, then fall lifelessly to the ground. Taking off his mask, he begins to explain his life. Clinging onto that small beacon of hope in his chest that if he explained, his opponent wouldn't kill him or worse his master. So he explained his life before meeting Zabuza, before his mother was discovered of being a Kekkei Genkai user. How his only purpose in life is to be a tool of his master. Of change. Hitomi. Oh my god, that's Haku, a disbelieving voice from Hitomi. Wait, how do you know about the enemy? Sakura started paying attention to Naruto-sensei the moment she heard the loud crackle of lightning her sensei emitted minutes ago. He's the person I met a few days ago in the forest. When I got tired and passed out from training. I remember him waking me up and we had a talk. That's a guy, holy hell. He's prettier than most girls back home. As Sakura babbles on, not realizing that her blonde teammate was no longer next to her, Hitomi starts walking to where Naruto-nai was talking with Haku. That is why I live to serve Zabuza-sama. Finally arriving, she stares at Haku, tears welling, begging to whatever god out there for this to be a bad dream. Please tell that isn't you, Haku-chan. I'm afraid it is. Hitomi-san, a sad smile on the revealed hunter's face. You know her, Hitomi-chan? Naruto asks, surprised that his sister knew of the enemy. Yeah, and she's a Hiyani-chan. What? As both Hunter and Uchiha exclaim, they stare at each other after registering that the other had said the same thing. They have a chuckle at the moment. Loosening some of the tension that surrounded the bridge. Ani-chan, please don't kill him. He's a nice person. Maybe we can convince Zabuza to stop fighting. She grasped onto her brother's arm, her eyes pleading him to not kill her friend revealed enemy. I have to ask, why does she call you her brother? Will you also claim for the younger Uchiha member to be your sibling as well? Haku asked, wondering if they were actually related or not. Or if perhaps the two she fought against were engaged and Hitomi was his opponent's sister-in-law. Surprising Haku, he says he's indeed related to them both. A parent each from both of the younglings. Hitomi's eyes have not broken off from her brother's the entire time. Relenting, Naruto sighs. Fine, I'll convince Kakashi not to. The sound of 1,000 chirping birds interrupts her brother, and a pale blue light was now emanating where Kakashi and Zabuza were supposed to be. Zabuza-sama. Seeing how Haku dashed off, Hitomi was about to run after her friend until she left a strong arm pulling her back. Shit. Hitomi-chan, don't go. You'll get hurt. I'll keep them safe. Stay back. She sees her brother quickly enter some sort of vortex and disappears from her sight. Taking a moment to think, she decides to ignore her brother's warning and heads to where Haku ran off to. Of change. Naruto, that bleeding imbecile. He better not be dead when I get there. Cursing at how uncharacteristically impulsive this Haku character was being, Naruto hurriedly exits the Kamui portal where he sensed Kakashi was. There was good news and bad news. Good news being, yes, he was now near Kakashi, portal above him giving him a bird's eye view of the vicinity. Bad news being, his colleague had too much momentum in him and he couldn't stop in his tracks as Haku was in between Kakashi and his target. Zabuza's chest. I didn't think I would have revealed this so soon. Already in his hand was a familiar-looking kunai that had a tri-pronged head. Throwing it at the space between Haku and Zabuza, he disappears in a black flash as he suddenly materializes between his targets. This is gonna hurt a bit, recklessly increasing the output of chakra into his left eye. He grabs a hold of the two chunin and tugs hard. Their bodies now deep enough in the Kamui dimension that they would be intangible for a few seconds just in time too, as a lightning-covered fist passes right through all three bodies. This happening all within the span of 3 seconds. What the? As Kakashi makes a break and spins around ready to charge again, Naruto holds out the universal hand sign of stop. Haku? What the hell just happened? A tired gruff muffled voice speaks out. I'm not sure, master. Naruto was the all of you shut up so I can nurse this headache and make sure I stop seeing things in 3. Not used to feeling the sudden whiplash of his father's fabled teleportation technique, Naruto crouches to try to breath. Hoping he won't embarrass himself by vomiting. After finally gathering his bearings, he walks over to where his kunai had landed. He picks it up and hides it away in his pouch. Though Kakashi and Zabuza saw the shape of the throwing weapon. Now, seeing as how you, Zabuza, look wrecked beyond Sunday and being mauled by Duoi, why are you a chew toy? The Kakashi gives a 2-finger salute. Alright. Anyway, seeing as how you are in no shape or form to fight and pretty boy over here surrendering to me. I'm calling an end to this battle. If you think that I will surrender just because of how much did you charge Gato for your services? What? Did I stutter? How much did you charge him? The stare of incredulity forms on Zabuza's face and on Haku's and on Kakashi's and on Hitomi. Hitomi? What are you doing here? I told you to get back. Haku is someone precious to me, I wasn't going to leave him all by himself. What kind of Hokage would I be if I did? A pout unfitting on the battlefield adorns his sister's face. That cute little minx, she's starting to see how much she can manipulate me. I'd be proud of her if it weren't for the fact it was happening to me. Sighing out loud, he asks Zabuza again, accepting to let his sister listen in. Just tell me how much you charged him. A reluctant Zabuza answers a solid 500 krio upon completion. Holy crap, that's a lot. Actually, Hitomi, for work like this it should be more than that. Especially if it was a specific assassination order, and considering how valuable Tazuna is to Wave, Zabuza here could have easily requested double the amount. Kakashi, now seeing that combat wasn't going to resume anytime soon, slowly discharges his Rikiri. After it safely dispels, he limps over to the group as he covers his left eye. All were waiting for Naruto's response or at least an explanation as to why he asked. He's not gonna pay you. Zabuza, in spite of being hurt, had enough energy to let waves of anger roll off his body. Talk. Nodding, Naruto continues. From my investigation of Gato, he doesn't pay mercs over 300 krio. He would hire some goons to take care of the mercenary when they were dead tired so they couldn't properly defend themselves. So he could save his cash. Suddenly remembering that he dispatched some goons earlier, Naruto summons a shadow clone. Bring Tazuna here along with Sasuke and Sakura. We need to regroup. The clone nods and heads off. We need to regroup, Naruto Nai. Yes. On the way here I came across a group of thugs who were decked out with weapons heading somewhere. If what I know about Gato is true, he most likely was banking on today for Zabuza and Haku to confront us and either be dead or near death so he could finish the job himself. How can I trust you considering you're currently holding all of the cards at the moment, asked Zabuza, who surprisingly was somewhat allowing the dogs that are still biting him to continue what they were doing. Either ignoring them or too numb to feel anything from blood loss. If I were holding all the cards then I wouldn't need to lie. Tell you what, I'm confident to the point where I leave my left eye as collateral. Everyone except for the butcher of Kiri widen their eyes in shock. And what's so special about your eyes? Holy crap, mid-sentence Naruto stared directly at Zabuza, letting him see the Mangekyou Sharingan in all its glory. That's why, Zabuza. Fine, I'll go along with you for the moment. I know what you are capable of if that kunai you've hidden has any meaning to it and I do not want to be slaughtered today. Plus I can tell Haku is tired while you aren't even sweating a bit. A few moments pass in a comfortable silence as a pink-haired Kunoichi, a screaming elderly man scared shitless at the fact Zabuza was inches away from him, and a passed-out Uchiha youngling being held by the clone of his older dimensional brother, finally arrive. Just as they do, everyone could hear the rattling of steel and the mumbling of men. A mist clears showing a mob of men standing at the end of the bridge. With a short blob in a business suit standing in front of the group. You disappoint me, Zabuza. Here I was hoping one of you would be dead by now. No matter, you all look tired and exhausted. Oh well, this will just make my killing of you all the more sweeter. Some of the men behind Gato snickering, no doubt excited at the prospect in killing some shinobis. Well, I'll be damned, you were right. Oi Kakashi, get rid these dogs, my quarrel with you is over. Haku toss a kunai to my mouth. No. A deep baritone voice comes from the elder Uchiha and a rare tone from him that sounded like a hungry demon waiting to prey upon the living. I haven't got my fill of battle yet, and seeing how my sister was able to change my mind in killing you, Kirin in the killing intent rolls off of Naruto, increasing in volume the longer he speak, to the point that even Zabuza could feel it. I want them as compensation. Not wanting to come between the bloodthirsty Uchiha, everyone takes a step back away from him. Oten. Shizumaru Ashikubi no Jutsu. Earth release. Sinking ankle technique. As Naruto slams his right foot into the ground, activating his technique. Haku whispers a sigh of annoyance, seeing a fourth affinity, and at this point giving up and just accepting that he most likely has a water affinity as well. The mob of men let out a scream of confusion as they see their feet sinking into the stone pavement below. They stopped sinking once the floor reached up to their knees. As some of the smarter thugs realize just what's about to happen, Gato screams. What do you think you're doing? Do you know who I am? Stop this at once. Gato panics, seeing how there was no reaction from the black-haired man who was slowly walking towards them. Zabuza. Stop him. Deadpanning, unless I'm going deaf. I distinctly remember hearing that you wanted me dead. Haku, is it just me or am I going deaf? In an equal tone of deadpanning, neither master, he vocally called for your death as well as mine. Now pale Gato wildly offers to anyone who would listen. Money, mansions, women. You blondie. I'll give you anything you want. You look like a girl who likes attention. What is it you want? Men. Slaves. Drew, a gasp of pain exits Gato's mouth. Looking down, he sees several kunai protruding out of his body. Don't you dare talk to her, you worthless slime. Chakra violently pours out of Naruto, slamming into everyone in the vicinity. The dog summons latched onto Zabuza are dispelled forcefully by the sheer volume of foreign chakra that hit them. I was going to kill you and be done with it, but now I don't want even a tiny speck of you existing on the same planet as my little sister. After Naruto slings his gun by and seals his sickle into the storage tattoo on his arm, and he then focuses an ungodly amount of chakra into his eyes. After powering them up to a familiar level, he stares up at the clouds that have been formed since the day before. Perfect. He sends a quick atmospheric Raiten jutsu into the heavens above. He then closes his eyes to concentrate. As he takes a deep breath, Naruto remembers the comfortable crackle of lightning on his skin. Lines of blue electricity start forming across his left arm. He slowly raises it up out in front of him. He remembers the rush of blood being supercharged by plasma. The construct of lightning blits itself into his left palm, its form starting to take the shape of a bow. His feet shifts into the archer's stance. He remembers the euphoric feeling of thunder racing through his bones. The clouds above darken and flash continuously as the electricity in the air builds. Naruto remembers the first time he used lightning to run, the wind rushing past his skin. Power unrestrained, no longer chained up deep within him. The lightning gradually turns from blue to white, pulling the bowstring with his right hand. A diamond arrowhead forms, bulking up in size as seconds ticked away. Holy shit, Zabuza wisely speaks with the group not far behind. The preposterous amount of chakra buildup was enough for Sasuke to jolt up in alarm. His Sharingan had finally activated from the act of protecting his teammate. With those eyes wide open, he stares silently at his half-brother, in awe at the power he possessed. The image of pure power forever imprinted in his memory. Kakashi, pull them back, this will sting them if they are too close. Not doubting the words of his colleague, he picks up Sasuke while Haku does the same for his master. Sakura helps Tazuna along, leaving Hitomi the last to depart as she looks behind at her brother once again, worried about his safety. I'll be safe, go. I'll be right behind you, dear sister. Hearing those words, Hitomi departs to where Kakashi was. The other end of the bridge. Ado, now seeing just how oily Scrooty was, pleads his final bargain. Please. I'll give you anything. You must want something. Coldly looking into the corrupted filth's eyes, Naruto says his piece. I want your screams. He aims his bow to the heavens and lets the ridiculously overpowered lightning arrow fly. Indra no ya. Indra's bow. Of change. Hitomi. A deafening silence overlaps any sound at the moment the arrow hits the clouds. What followed was something that would be written in the future history books of the elemental nations. A discharge of an impossibly large lightning bolt came crashing down to where Gato and his men were trapped, causing a massive explosion that resulted in a huge mushroom cloud. From where Hitomi and the rest was, they had to hold on to whatever they could find that wasn't flying off. Team 7 used what they had learned from the water walking exercises days ago and were now thanking Kami that they did. Fiercely sticking their feet to the ground, they held on for dear life. Haku did the same, but with his chakra levels were all but depleted, the winds finally overpower him. Haku closes his eyes in sadness and prays that Zabuza forgives him for being a failure. As a tear flies off his face, he would have flung to his death if it weren't for the hand of his master. Zabuza saw Haku about to be thrown to his death. In a rare moment of desperation he reaches out just as the epiphany he's been struggling with all these years finally hits him. I stopped seeing you as a tool long ago. You are starting to feel like the son I never had. I am not going to let you die. Zabuza, summoning the energy he did not know he possessed, he grabs hold of his boy and lets out a might warcry, pouring anything and everything he had to his feet so he could protect him. He shields his kid's body from the winds and anchors himself to the ground. Izuna was the only person being comically flung around in the air while holding onto Kakashi's hand. As the dust clears, the result of that jutsu was shown. The entire bridge was obliterated with a massive crater on the end, where Gato and his men were, along with a massive chunk of the forest missing. Holy F language, dear sister screaming at the sudden entrance, she sees her brother perfectly unharmed, then runs to hug him out of relief. You? What did you do to my bridge? I may have overreacted a bit, I'll kill you. A foaming Tazuna attempts to take down his mortal enemy as Kakashi and Team 7 subdue him. A sheepish-looking Naruto rubs the back of his head. A physical tic he seemed to have inherited from his father and shared with his sister. Scene change. The people of Konoha have gathered in the city square of the village. Both civilians and shinobi turned up to see what was the urgent announcement their Hokage wanted to make. Some of those gathered have an inkling as to what it could be about. Concerning a juicy rumor about a certain jonin. Sarutobi Hizuzen stood proudly at the balcony of the Hokage Tower, taking in the breathtaking view of his village. Never once getting tired of such a sight. Team 7 along with their co-instructors would be arriving soon, along with a couple of surprise guests. They stayed in wave longer than scheduled, do something Kakashi vaguely described as atonement for the crimes against nature. Whatever that meant. The delay however caused some unforeseen repercussions within his village. His advisors prodded for information subtly about a certain jonin. A few of his counselors did so as well, surprisingly. He would tell them to cease their inquiries, but they persisted, resulting him scolding at his council. Many were starting to believe that he was slowly becoming mistrustful to his troops due to some misunderstandings he has no idea about. What on earth could the Hokage be keeping from us? Was the unasked question that lingered in the air after every meeting. Something he couldn't allow any longer. So with Naruto's consent and blessing, they decided that the Hokage would announce it today. However, Naruto wanted the Hokage to promise him some form of privacy from the public in exchange for the announcement, which Hiruzen gladly agreed to. It would be best to announce about Naruto of his supposed return to the village before word of mouth and rumors reached them. Clearing his throat, he applied chakra to his vocal cords. People of Konoha. It is my great pleasure to announce the existence of a certain shinobi. I'm sure word has already spread about a mysterious new jonin has been roaming about. I am proud to inform you that jonin's name is Namikaze Naruto. The secret offspring of our very own fourth Hokage. Pausing to let that bombshell of information seep into his audience's head, he continues. Due to circumstances surrounding his birth 19 years ago, he was hidden away from the public for his safety. However, he has finally arrived home about 2 months ago after completing his training. As we speak, he is outside of these walls helping our village by protecting his teammates and completing his mission. I ask you to give him a warm welcome to when he finally introduces himself to our community. The loud cheer of joy was being sung out by the villagers. Strangers hugging each other, happy to know that the beloved fourth Hokage had left behind a legacy. After the excitement died down a bit, the Hokage continued. That being said, I have some unfortunate news. Due to his upbringing, he is an extremely shy person and may come off as blunt, but please, I beg of you, do not be offended. As explained, because of his safety he had been secluded. He had minimal interaction with the public till recently. So please forgive him for when he acts callous or cruel. He isn't. He simply doesn't know how to show his emotions and how to act. As a fellow Konoha shinobi and citizen of the Hidden Leaf and Fire country, I ask you all to respect his privacy and give him space and time until he feels more comfortable with us. Thank you for your time and have a good evening. As the people below scatter, no doubt wanting to go celebrate in some form of fashion, Hiruzen smiles to himself. If anyone were to look at him now, they would see their loving third Hokage giving a smile that could chill one to the bone. And why not? This was revenge for all the headaches and migraines he's been receiving from the moment this dimensional hopping shinobi popped into his own. For every future headache he would make as well. He suspected something big happened in Wave, but he didn't want to know until Hiruzen was knee-deep in his 7th cup of sake. He was happy knowing he would introduce Naruto to the fear-inducing creatures that haunted all male prodigal shinobi. Fangirls, what if Naruto tomoe rinnegan chunin exams? Thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.